Greetings and welcome to Gatherverse AI Evolve Summit 2026, Day 2. We're coming off the heels of an extraordinary Day 1 at this 44th Global Gatherverse event, in which we've had a litany of speakers join us from around the world, transmetropolitan, transcontinental, from various and different perspectives of life, of innovation. There is so much that has been covered only in Day 1. And Day 2 is no exception to the result. Gatherverse meets at the intersection of emerging technologies with consideration for humanity-first standards of accessibility and education, equality, community development, safety and privacy, wellness and ethics, compassion, care, trust. We meet today in this unprecedented time in this month of May, in the era of compute, wait. In the era of AI hyperscale, wait. In the era of acceleration, wait. In the era of existential crisis, wait. In the era of AI human flourishing. Is it all of the above? Is it one of the lot? We have in this world a great bifurcation of understanding when it comes to technology, but more so ever when it comes to where people find themselves in the vocations in the throes of life. The career path and path of entrepreneurship. We are in a great transitionary time of civilization of industry. We've gone from the agrarian age. We've gone into the industrial age, steam, industrial age 2, electric, head fast into the prototypical generation, into the information age, the applications renaissance, and now we find ourselves in the age of the frontier. All technology abides within the great ecohabitat. And in this ecohabitat, there are a number of different various of technologies that abide. But what happens when these technologies begin to grow and pair together? This is what we commonly refer to as the merge pairing. And these technologies combine together, and on a amorphous scale in the amalgamation, those amalgamations come together, and that leads us to the true technological convergence. New naming conventions must be defined. New directions must be set, and new compasses must be met in this frontier. And at the center of it all, we hope, is the preciousness of the consideration of human preservation, of existence, of the heartbeat of innovation, if you will. We've had so many different speakers from near and far join us. We've had so many people give us real-time report of consideration of what they're seeing from their lens perspective when it comes to this intersection of emerging technologies and human consideration for betterment. In a world where we often hear more from machines than under the banner of human voices. In many ways, we've surrendered agency and judgment away from the most incredible database that you and I were given from our mother's womb at birth, the human mind. I think about what we innovate today impacts the future tomorrow and generations to come, and I wonder what could be done tonight. What could be sustained? And what is this meaning of trust and truth and ground truth? And what has the impact of AI been for you and I already in this world? Look around you, folks. Things are changing. Good, bad, or indifferent, things are changing. Some say, but yes, Chris, they're always changing. But you've never seen them change like this. And with Gatherverse, we do our level best with diligence and persistence to bring that change to your doorstep, to your home, to a neighbor, to a friend, to a stranger, to let you know that there was a time in the age of agentic creation, multi-headed agentic systems, and hyper-realistic immersive simulations of visual intelligence, that there was a time amongst all that, through the weeds and the sprockets, platforms and the protocols and the products, there was compassion. There were humans behind the screens. And on the other side of the GPU, the chambers of the human heart. As quick as it comes, as quick as it goes, day 2 begins. And may our gather be well.
Greetings. Welcome to the first roundtable panel discussion of Gadavar's AI Evolve Summit 2026, Day 2. We are truly humbled to have such an incredible assembly of minds with us today, gathered from around the globe with visionaries and experts joining us from Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas, and representing unique perspectives and a wealth of expertise as we discuss the topic, the serious impact AI has already made in our lives. Panelists, we welcome you. I'm excited to have each and every one of you here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Well, we start with introductions and we continue with the conversation. I will start with Amy. Hi, Amy. It is good to see you. Please tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and what inspired you to gather with us today.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here. And I'm looking forward to learning from everyone else on the panel. I'm the founder of Inner Strength Education, which brings innovative mindfulness and systems thinking work to high school students. And I'm currently building an AI platform for ages 15 to 25 on wellness, critical thinking, and what they call the soft skills development. What I really intend is to build a platform that will help young people evolve their wisdom and their compassion for the future. So that's what brought me here. I've been thinking a lot about the dangers and trying to mitigate them because we also have enormous possibility. So it's going to be wonderful to talk with everyone
Indeed,
today.
Amy. We welcome you. Thank you. Dr. Kiana, please tell us who you are and where you're joining us from.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Kiana Bradshaw. I am an academic program director of emerging technologies at Columbia Southern University. I am joining everyone from the Carolinas today, and I just loved helping in creating AI programs and helping everyone use it ethically, and is making it very useful for me and the students and the faculty.
We welcome you, Doctor. Good to have you here. Richard, please. Please kindly introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and your inspiration for joining us. Hello, Richard. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah. You're still muted. Yeah, awesome.
How
Unmuted
about now?
now. Yes, you're muted.
Okay, is it now better?
Yes, it's better
Yeah, okay.
now.
All right, so my name is Richard McCuskey. I'm a founder. Okay. I'm a founder of Digital Wheel of Fortune, which is a future forecasting, strategic forecasting consultancy, also a futurist. I focus on the intersection of, let's say, the humanities and technologies, and where components of biometrics, immersion, and AI intersect.
We welcome you, Richard. We're looking forward to your perspective. Joe, please tell us who you are and where you're joining us from, and of course, your inspiration as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Joe Wilson. I'm a founder of JMO Global Consulting, and I provide consulting in technical advisory and hands-on support to organizations, enabling them consolidate their fragmented data systems into a reliable source of truth and become ready for AI. I am joining you from Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, this morning, and I'm glad to be here. It's very interesting to be on Gadaverse, and I look forward to a very engaging conversation today. Thank you.
Of course, Joe, I also look forward to a very interesting conversation. We welcome you, Joe. Leah, please. Leah, you're muted. Kindly unmute and introduce yourself.
There we go. Sorry, I thought the host had to unmute me. Hello, nice to be here, and I sincerely appreciate the invitation amongst this incredible stage. My name is Lee Felton. I am the president of the AI for Job Security Foundation, where we help communities around the country embrace AI technologies and understand their power as well as their limitations. I'm calling from the Seattle, Washington area, and I'm also the creator of the Co-Adaptive Anthropotechnical Environment Lexicon, where I'm helping people understand the difference and the evolution of AI from being a tool that we use to actually being an environment that is helping us adapt.
You're welcome, Leah, from Washington. We're
Yes.
looking forward to hearing more about what you do. Thank you for joining. Shipra, welcome you, Shipra. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Salvation. I hope you can hear me. My name is Shifra Wairima, coming from Kenya. I'm the president of the Global Council of Responsible AI here in Kenya, working in the intersection of cybersecurity and AI governance, with a deep burden for women in tech, empower women in tech, and also talent in underrepresented places here in Kenya. I'm really inspired to be here because I want to listen to different perspectives of what people are thinking and how we can improve what's becoming in the age of AI. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shipra. We welcome you from Kenya. Ian, please.
Hey everyone, I'm the founder of and lead architect of Hala. So I've been driving a very affordable like international level education model based on AI, cognitive science, and even logic, which is the most foundational framework for learning everything. And so I've been trying to develop this model to reduce educational inequality while redefining how humans learn in the age of AI. So we operate on a hybrid a B2B, B2C model. So we can provide without real-time teaching, we can just help many underprivileged students by providing them many different types of useful information and learning materials. And at the same time, we have just started helping the local academies, so that teachers can take enough rest without spending a lot of time in learning new technologies and providing lots of content for their students in this competitive environment. And we are actually thinking about, recently we are about to get into one African country, like probably in Kenya, an international school, so that we can approve our effect, our also education impact on the world. So hopefully this would go smooth
Yeah.
as right. Yes.
Yeah,
So
thank you very much, Ian. Ian, well done on the great work you're doing on the education side with K education. Beth, it's good to see you again. Please tell us who you are for the first timers and where you're joining us from. Of course, your inspiration for joining us.
Sure. Thank you. It's great to be here again and to see you all. I'm Beth Zukowski. I'm a co-founder of AI Between Worlds. We help small and medium-sized businesses with their ethical AI adoption into their core business operations. I'm joining from Massachusetts in the United States, and I'm very excited about this. I'm very optimistic about all of the things that AI can help us with, while remaining cautious about a lot of the risks that we all know that we face. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion and to hearing all of these great, wonderful people also talk about their experience as well. So thank you.
Of course, thank you very much, Beth. We welcome you. And I am Salvation Chigaraka. I'm the Global Progress Director at Gadavas, and I'm joining you from Lagos Island. And I'm looking forward to the conversation we're about to have to discuss the topic, the serious impact AI has already made in our lives. I think this topic it's saying it's already happening. It's happening. It's here, and we're seeing it. It's not futuristic, and that's what this conversation is about. And I would like for Amy to open the floor for us and to tell us what she thinks and share with us, Amy, what AI impact has been felt most around the world, looking at the global level. What do you think has really impacted? We see AI doing a lot of things, but we also see AI affecting jobs, education, even attention spans in schools. Ian can testify. We also see AI affecting creativity. Of course, the perks are there, but then what are the impacts on AI right now, Amy? Please tell us.
The impact is coming so fast and spreading so quickly that every 10 minutes it seems like there's a new nuance to the impact. I think first, there's a tremendous amount of excitement. I think many people are experiencing the freedom and creativity and possibility of coding barriers and cost barriers to creating being lowered, and finding ways to create scalable solutions for all different populations in all different ways. So I think that that's initially what's hitting the human creativity. And humans are a little bit like 3-year-olds in terms of a species. They get very, very excited about things, but they don't realize that if they play with something, it could break. And I think that that's a little bit where we are with our enthusiasm around AI. I think circles who work more closely with it are aware of many of the downsides. So everything from resource use for large data centers that are destroying communities and water tables with long-term consequences, to changing the value of the way we value our human sentience and consciousness, that we are the result of a 13.8 evolutionary experiment, and our consciousness is precious. And the way that we are looking at AI, it's somewhat downplaying the uniqueness of human capacities rather than looking at the ways that we can co-create synthetic intelligence and human intelligence without denigrating our humanity. I think there's a lot of people are turning to AI for personal problems and finding some support there, and also finding an emptiness there, which in long term can be quite debilitating. So I think that needs a lot of care. One of the biggest
Yes.
concerns I have is the use of AI for war, and we are already seeing that. And certain populations have been really affected by that, and I think we all want to hold that in our hearts because that can accelerate quite quickly and is already having devastating effects. So it's very much positive and concerning at the exact same time. So that's in a
Yes.
nutshell.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I will bring Richard to chime in on what you just shared with us. Richard, what do you think? Can you hear us okay, Richard? You're muted. Kindly unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Yes,
Yes.
I'm okay now. I was having some platform issues as well. The impact I felt that I'm kind of seeing around the world is like the more around not really I guess the specific AI technologies, but if you want to leave the term efficiencies that it's bringing, right? So just look at what it did to, let's just say, search in general, or kind of with Google. It's not specific that it's faster, this, that, whatever. Just there was like a cultural change away on how we're like looking for information. And if we're going only to these AI systems, we're kind of getting kind of what they were trained on and stuff like that versus kind of other things like that. So there's I would say information funnel that is that, again, it's forcing people to be I guess better at it, or search at it, or do more than one reference, or kind of something like that. So it also, when it comes to again, like how it's, if you want to say, destroying sectors of jobs, it is really kind of, again, not the technology itself, but it's just making people very more efficient or quicker, right? So instead of 10 people taking a year to do it, now I could do it with 2 people in 4 months, right? So that inability for, I think, culture or workforces or kind of something like that, if you want to leave it, need time to catch up, right? So
Yes.
I'm also seeing on the flip side, and have forecasted this, almost a year ago, 2 years ago, that kind of negative reaction that we're having toward AI now, specifically kind of with students, or again, kind of the alphas, or the kind of late Gen Zs, booing tech people, at commencements, and kind of moving away from smartphones to flip phones. I actually kind of see that continuing, kind of down the line too. And so on kind of, and again, how AI, was, going to, I would say, almost have a negative effect toward technology, kind of overall, but we'll kind of see where it goes.
Of course. Thank you, Richard. And Richard just mentioned about the impact of AI on the job side, and Amy has also mentioned on how it's affecting the consciousness, as well as it's being used as a tool for war. That's concerning. Dr. Kiana, I'd like to hear your perspective on that with what Richard and Amy has just shared with us. What do you think?
I think AI should be used the right way. Honestly, I don't think it should be used for war. I'm more your peaceful type of person, not your war person. But when it's used, I'm worried about, is it being used ethically, and what is it being used exactly for? So that's basically what I think AI should be used for. But I think the hesitancy with the Gen Zs, a lot of them that I talk to, they're saying, we just don't understand it. And then they're getting, they're not used to it. And I'm hearing comments like that. So I think if it was being used in an ethical manner and used in a way where it's going to help us benefit others in society, that it wouldn't be such a large pushback the way it is. And unfortunately, that's
Exactly.
right now.
Yeah, yeah. I have a follow-up question, but I'll be bringing it to Joe. Joe, looking at the state of things with what Dr. Kiana shared and Amy and Richard, do you think that we are currently experiencing more positive impacts on AI, of AI rather?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think we are already experiencing the positive impact of AI, and I like to take a step back, right, and reflect on where we come from and where we are right now. So when we speak of AI, a lot of people might think that because they are using ChatGPT, Cloud Code, or Gemini or other AI tools, uh, they might think that, well, this is the avalanche of AI, but no. So I come from a data science background, right? So AI has been in place for a very long time, right? Um, AI has been helping organizations, whether it has been through natural language processing, right? Semantics analytics, those things. So we have seen the impact of AI already, and we know that there are a lot of progress that has been made in our lives, and that AI has dramatically impacted how we have made decisions, whether it's by selecting who's qualified for a mortgage, who's qualified for a loan. So all of these things have already been impacting our lives. But one thing I really, really want to emphasize here is that why is it that we are evaluating the impact of AI in our lives? But I think those who get the most out of AI sits at the intersection of those who have technical versus those who have non-technical. By that I mean that it is actually organizations that do understand their operations and data and ensuring that they have the data foundations to make sure they are AI ready versus organizations that just jump onto the chaos. They hide, you know, because we have Cloud Code is doing this, Chat GPT can do this, Google Gemini can do this. So everybody just want to make investment into the AI, but not really assessing how fundamentally, in the context of data readiness, they are to make the next investment into AI. So I think this is where we can begin to assess the impact of AI from an organizational perspective, and then driving down to the individual level. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, yes, Joe. And you also brought thoughts to my mind as well with what you just shared with the organizational level, because we are individuals and we all belong to society as well as the organizations that run this intelligence, this technology, and we all belong to this organization one way or the other, indirectly or directly. We work with them as staff, or we do business with them, or we are the other people that are being laid off from this organization because of the rise of AI, and it has affected our jobs and is even affecting education. We see it with the younger generation where AI is affecting the attention spans of this generation. And it brings questions to my mind from what you just said, but I will carry the question over to Leah and Beth, of course, to give their contributions from what you just shared with us, Joe. And Beth, I'll be coming over to you with what Joe has just shared with us. I'm thinking, oh, Joe is saying something so great, but what happens when we lose our jobs from the organizational standpoint? Because I think earlier this year, LinkedIn released a work report that AI is now deeply embedded in workplace productivity and decision making globally. And we know that this is a tool. If it's involved in decision making and making decisions for humans, what data is this technology making the decisions from? Who informed this technology, this technology information it can use to make a decision over a human? And can we trust such data? Better like a perspective on this.
My perspective is aligned with Joe's in that I do believe that getting your data in order is of utmost priority. The issue is that a lot of people are using a lot of these large language models that have been trained on data that has a lot of bias. And it's also trained on communication styles that value a sense of confidence and authority, so that when it responds, it does so with that same tone of authority and confidence, which makes people inherently want to believe it and take it as truth. And what we need to do is understand what decisions we're allowing the AI to make on our behalf and whether or not that's okay. And that's an ongoing leadership challenge and something that I think needs to be explicitly called out as organizations adopt and roll out AI for their workplace and for their companies. So in terms of jobs, you do see bias in hiring. You do see a lot of companies laying off and then claim it's due to AI, but yet there's a lot of studies out there that have shown that people really aren't adopting AI at the pace that you would expect it to happen in order to support the layoffs that are happening. So I believe that the layoffs aren't necessarily happening due to AI, but are basically that's just the message that is being associated with it. That being said, I'm very worried for entry level college students who are facing job hunting today because a lot of the jobs that they would normally come into at entry level and then learn and have to have some degree of struggle to develop and grow new skills, those tasks and those jobs that are associated with those tasks are being replaced by AI. Now, I do believe that new tasks will be developed. I do believe that there will be more opportunity. And I do believe that as leaders, it's always our job to make sure that there is opportunity for our people and for future generations. So I am optimistic that that will happen, but we are in that, in the throes of a major change. And so we'll see.
Of course, I hope we'll see changes. Speaking of consequences, but let me bring Leah on this, on the consequences that the technology we're already seeing right now. You mentioned the entry levels not being skilled up enough to fit into the recent positions that we have right now in these organizations. Leah, what do you think? Do you
There's
think
a There's a lot to unpack here. I mean, the conversation really is uncovering a lot of the significant issues that people aren't understanding with this adoption of AI. For me personally, I believe a lot of enterprise level adoption is like the emperor's new clothes. If you're familiar with that tale, that it looks beautiful and it looks like everybody is ahead of the game and everybody is adopting it. So we have to go faster. We have to be AI literate. We have to, have this massive adoption. But that just isn't what's happening. I think it's more smoke and mirrors than anything, because right now, people need to understand what AI actually is. Had ChatGPT or other platforms come out, instead of saying, this is AI, if they said, this is a probabilistic engine that is statistically guessing what the answer of your prompt should be, based on these little tokens, and that's pretty much what it is, that wouldn't have gotten as much excitement, as much, interaction. Instead, it's like, oh, this is artificial intelligence. Is it going to be smarter than people? And I always push back on that question. Is AI smarter than humans? Think about that. AI is the mimicked intelligence of humans, mimicked intelligence. And so, just like Dr. Beth had said, this really does go back to the data. It goes back to our belief in these systems. And so, from a data perspective, yes, the data's biased, but it's more than the data being biased. The people who are building these models, they're biased. The people who are developing the systems, they're biased. Everything about why we even use AI for certain things is a result of our individual bias. And so we have to remember that it's not whether AI is more intelligent or whether humans are more intelligent, because humans are complex. We are complex beings, and it is our complexity that makes us more intelligent, and will always make us more intelligent, because AI does not think. AI is statistically guessing what the answer should be. And to your point about younger generations and more junior employees, I hope organizations remember that some of the most innovative thoughts and ideas come from those who have not been in the systems, come from those who are junior, because they think about things differently. They see things that we've just been doing because we have this loop. In corporations, we have this loop. Once we get started on something, we do it that way because it's always been done that way. But it's our junior associates that come in and they question it. And we have to always remember to question not just the patterns and the routines that we have in our lives, but we have to remember to question, why is AI coming back with that particular answer? Because as I always say, the limits of the past should not be used to predict our future.
Yes, 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 Leah. Thank you for sharing that with us. Quite insightful perspective from you there. Let's bring Shipran into the next question. Shipran, we've talked about a lot. Let's bring you. How has AI changed humanity's relationship with information? As brief as you can, share with us.
Sorry?
Can you hear me, Shipran? Can you
Yes,
hear
I can
me?
hear you. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Bringing you into the next question, and I'm asking, how has AI changed humanity's relationship with information?
Amazing. Thank you so much. I've had amazing conversations, and for me, I love the point that you mentioned on awareness, because this is something that needs to be talked about on consequences. AI has changed relationships with information, and I think I'll go back to the point on people being more of dependent on AI. Humans are now outsourcing thinking instead of thinking their own, and making sure that their ideas are genuine and they're upskilling or upscaling with AI. We are trying to use AI for literally everything, which is wrong, because as Lee has talked about just recently, got me thinking, while AI is mimicking us and becoming smarter, are we becoming dumber, and are our students becoming way less not aware, and not aware that there are different jobs coming to be taken, or there are different scams that are coming in, and that's why I love the point on awareness. The part of information, I'd talk about one thing. I had an educator called Zhang say, consumerism is the perfection to slavery. We've come to a point where AI is now having all the information from search engines, and we are getting all this information everywhere, and we have made AI to be the final say. We've stopped researching, we've stopped going to the ground, we've stopped so many things that we were doing that kept us in touch as humans, and I feel that that has affected us as humans, because we are now being fully dependent on the AI agents instead of just going out there and making sure that these are the data that is being filled, or it's just an assumed data that AI has already mimicked from the statistics, as Lee has said.
Yes, Ian. Yes, Shipra. Shipra, with what you just shared, I'll come over to Ian with my follow-up question. When you say there's a loop with the information, there's a gap rather in the information system currently with the presence of AI. Ian, let me bring you on the next question. Do you think that currently, do you think that it has affected trust with the way information is now being communicated? Do you think that AI has affected trust in individuals and institutions?
All right. I believe, yeah, I think we don't really trust each other anymore. But what our friends or our colleagues say might not their ideas actually. They might just repeat what they just learned from AI, and they might just fake, just like as if they are or were talking about their own unique ideas. So because of that, personally, or thanks to that, I personally don't really have to contact my friends to acquire some professional insights from some, experts in various areas. And so this kind of, breaks our human relationship in society, and we get to be more isolated. We don't contact each other more. We used to rely on each other even to be more prosperous and to make even more money. So this is kind of sad. And so basically, we are living in a new version of the industrial revolution. During the industrial revolution, just because of the new technologies were developed, it didn't mean people could take enough rest, or rather, actually, during the time factories operated for longer hours, and production targets grew larger, and competition became fiercer. So this is exactly what's going on. And but the thing is, probably like the people who are dominating the world and govern the world in the public sectors, and especially those like public officials, they don't really have to work hard. They don't really have to work faster. They just get a regular pay every month. So which means just like the private companies or like people in those organizations will learn, and then they will do something, which could be even like a negative toward the society. Even though like the ESG boom has been going on around, but like if the benefit is not high enough, they will just focus on like something negative just to make more money. So they are gonna be much smarter than people in private sector, which means the world will be even more dominated and governed by private ones. So in this sense, I really think in the future, like a big social enterprise will be the answer, like that operate their business based on their humanitarian spirit. So they don't really have to be obsessed with like maximizing their immediate profit. Instead, they will just focus on like rather than being obsessed with the profit, they will just try to always like the index about how sound impact they are making. So I think that's
Yes, thank you, Ian. Thank you for your perspective on that, on how AI is affecting trust and the lack of trust currently in the society, as we say it. I'll be coming with Amy on the next question. Coming back to you, Amy. Shipra shared more on how information is being affected by AI, and Ian has also touched on the trust effects currently. Just briefly, Amy, just tell us as briefly as you can, is humanity more informed or we're more dependent on AI?
I think that's something that we'll see as it rolls out more. I think it's a little bit too early to tell.
Hmm.
If we educate our students and our working people in how to work with AI, I think it can make us more informed because you can research well, you can compare sources, you can pull in conflicting sources and contradictory sources and really assess whatever you're studying yourself if we're training people to do that. So I think that there's a possibility of becoming much better informed in a shorter period of time. And I think that's really positive. I know that that's certainly how I use it, and it's been really helpful in a lot of the research I'm doing. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the I don't know if there's a term for it, but a friend of mine called it the McDonaldization of knowledge, where everyone, you know, it's basically English, it's basically polling, it's biasing certain sources, and it's sending those across the world. You know, AI can be used to uplift and preserve dying languages and cultures and bring out alternative points of view and the, you know, different lifestyles and different approaches and different perspectives. Right now, because of the speed of rollout, what we're seeing is what's basically coming out of Silicon Valley and all of the traditional biases. And if that rolls out really quickly without really diversifying our knowledge sources, we're going to lose so much so quickly. But I think there's the possibility to do the opposite.
Yes, yes, I also think so, Amy. Thanks for your perspective on that. Dr. Kuyana, we have very little time on our clock. Please just tell us, what are the trade-offs that people are making between convenience and personal privacy with AI?
Well, like Ian touched on earlier, it's really sad because people are trading off their friends and their relationships for AI. They're figuring, if I could reach out to technology and I can get this information through that, I don't need to call a friend. I don't need to call someone to help. So I think we need to balance everything out and try to really reach out and talk to people, because AI intelligence is artificial. We the ones have the human intelligence, and we need to recognize there are limits to everything. And if we don't balance it out in our lives, we could just have these kind of trade-offs taken over and over again, and it's really sad.
Indeed, indeed. Let's come over to you, Richard, and then Joe, just briefly as possible as we can. Richard, tell us, how does AI impact human well-being? Doctor just shared how we're trading off friendship, we're trading off good relationship and trust, which is very vital. Tell us the impact on overall human well-being and quality of life right now with the use of AI.
Well, the thing that sticks out the most is the let's say the addition or the additional uses of AI in scientific technologies, pharmaceuticals. That's kind of where I'm starting to see, like, I would say, like, where it makes a difference to quality of life. In fact, the science groups even measure that you could live 100 years, but with a bad quality of life, or live 20 years with a great quality of life. So there's a kind of a measurement in there, you know. So AI, again, which I try to keep it very positive, because I know there's a lot of dystopian out there, can do bring like, let's just say, medicines better or quicker to the market, right? And for the fact that it can go so deep, it can almost go down to an individual's DNA, an individual's kind of session. So actual cures, or something, instead of just kind of keeping you on drugs forever, kind of things like that. Then the other kind of quality of life I get, kind of from AI, kind of in back when it comes to, like, again, humanity, again, is the almost like kind of the reciprocal part of, we now have more information, do this faster, right? Or, get this information out, kind of, quicker, or include it into what you're doing, so you can then make that, that much better, that much, further. So those are I would say that kind of like the speed, and then quality of life is where I think a lot of the utopian aspects of AI come from.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Let's bring in Joe to the questions. Joe, with what Richard has just shared with us, I don't think anyone here right now on this panel would want to experience being on lifelong medication just to survive, just to live. That would be a sad experience generally. And I hope not for the future of humanity that should be so. Joe, what are emerging concerns about AI security and privacy risks in everyday life? Joe, please, as briefly as possible, just give us some few facts on this question.
That is a great concern because the great benefits of AI comes with confidence and security. I come from the AI workspace, so I know that AI. One thing I'm very confident about is that AI can amplify the insecurities or vulnerabilities in whatsoever systems you are working with, insofar that the foundation, especially from the data perspective, is not solidified and it is not trained to become AI ready. From an insecurity perspective, AI can do so much. It can impersonate your voices. I mean, AI can amplify unrealistic and insecure evidence in the context of AI suggestions, and people can tend to believe that. So we are not in a world of information. We are generating more data than ever before. So unverified misinformation can be amplified by AI. Though the point is that those of us that are into the AI space and organizations that are seeking to leverage the goods from AI must ensure that the data from which they are leveraging AI is verifiable, is trustworthy, is reliable. And that is one reason why I tend to speak with many SMB leaders to ensure that their data foundation is solid, is trusted, and is reliable. Because anything outside of that is what amplifying misinformation. Even if you go across Africa, the emerging markets that deal with a lot of democracies, even for us here in the United States, we see that misinformation tend to be amplified by AI, and that is a serious security issue. So I believe that those that are leveraging AI must ensure that security is addressed, data reliability, data truth is addressed, so that we do not amplify the insecurities or misinformation that have been generated by the hallucination of AI, because it just tried to generate its own information, which of course is not fundamentally true. That's what I have to
Yes,
say.
yes. So I have to step in right there. You have unpacked so much on this questions. I'm sure you've answered that question very well, and thank you very much for your perspective and your insight on the risks of artificial intelligence and how it can amplify it. Thank you very much, panelists. We have very little time on our clock. I'm looking at it right now, and I can see that so much has been discussed and expressed, and a lot has been shared on the impact of AI on our lives today. And I hope for one good reason that everything we've discussed here, for the sake of humanity, and everything we've talked about, everything we've shared, everything we hope for, that truly it can be considered when these technologies are being used in real time, and that the impact of artificial intelligence can be positive, can preserve trust, can preserve relationships, can preserve jobs, can give hope to the entry level employee who hopes to be an engineer, a business person, a doctor, whoever, and that what matters to humanity will not by humanity be given to artificial intelligence. Panelists, thank you for joining the conversation. I would say Agada was well. Thank you very much. Over to the Gadavasti.
Greetings and welcome back to Gatherverse AI Evolved, Day 2. We're so happy to be able to still be able to sojourn with you after that incredible roundtable discussion. It was deep, there was a lot unpacked, and yet we still have so much more to be able to go. With us joining on stage is Dr. Akiat. I want you to please let us know who you are, what you're doing, and what inspired you to be here today. There's so much to be able to discover.
Hi, Christopher. It's really great to join Gatherverse again and having you as the moderator of this fireside chat. So I'm an educator, a researcher. I have earned my doctoral degree in instructional technology and media, specifically in multimodal embodied artificial intelligence, where I compared between ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in mixed reality. And I really found amazing results, not because of artificial intelligence, but because of how humans can actually embed artificial intelligence within sound pedagogical frameworks and help students attain learning outcomes and also have self-confidence. I've also taught virtual reality, UX design, human-computer interaction, and I also currently teach AI courses at the Media University of Applied Sciences about designing AI companions and embodied conversational AI for diverse topics: advertising, education, health, you name it. And the students really, I really love teaching, so and doing research as well. Yeah.
We're definitely happy to have you, and thank you so much for taking and carving out a small amount of time to be able to join us. I certainly am happy to join you on stage. I've had the pleasure of being able to spend time, and we've had the pleasure of being able to learn together in various
Yes.
vocations. I've considered your work tantamount and rather important, especially with the consideration of what we're looking at when it comes to visual intelligence. You mentioned the words embodiment, and we start thinking about artificial intelligence and synthetic embodiment and what those two worlds look like coming together. What does it mean when we're able to build out these intelligent worlds or semi-intelligent worlds, I should say, or artificially procedurally generated worlds, if you will, with a hint of intelligence? What are your studies showing you today? Because everyone that's listening and joining us at gatherverse.live and our various other social streams, we're so happy to have you. But everyone that's joining us here, they must need to know that this is the dawning of the next precedent that we're looking at in this amalgamation of computer science, in this amalgamation of, if you will, even life sciences, but more so thinking about it in terms of applied sciences, as you made mention. When these sciences come together, in particular, when we're looking at visualization or hyperrealism, and we're thinking about these type of transformer mechanisms or VJEPA world models coming into view into these embodiments, what are you seeing? And especially when it comes to prospective agentic systems.
Yeah, so I was actually dealing with a problem in a specific area of research where immigrant students, they don't have access to tools where they can be prepared for the job and workforce. And so the problem is that usually there are classes that help non-native speakers, but the problem is usually with educators. There's no problem with educators, but the thing is that they come from a language learning background, which has been documented a lot by research, and the curriculum itself. So they are also the ones who create the curriculum. And so the thing is, when you teach students who come from nursing background, engineering background, and also other backgrounds, you can't give them the guidance, right? Yes, we know how to answer interview questions, but every job has its own set of questions and in different ways. And so artificial intelligence was embedded to help the students in a specific amount of time. And so there was like three types of students or groups. Ones who used ChatGPT in order to prepare themselves for job interviews only for 20 minutes every week within a 4-hour class. And others were traditional teaching, so it's only the instructor who helps the students. And the third ones were students who interacted with embodied multimodal artificial intelligence. So both AIs were multimodal, one with ChatGPT voice, and the other one with AI in mixed reality. So it's an AI avatar sitting on a desk and stuff like that. And so I have seen students like who had access to ChatGPT, but they preferred to do the interview. And actually, they asked for more time, but I couldn't allow them. I allowed them after the study to practice more with the Convey. So it was Convey in mixed reality. And they said that we like it. Yes, it is AI. We feel like we can risk. You are very nice with us, and you can feel like when we are struggling, but you don't have the exact information about nursing and about this. And AI can provide us with this extra information that you can't provide us with. And we love how we are in a setting like that makes us feel like we are in a real interview. So they would sit, and there is a woman in front of them in mixed reality. That was Ready Player Me, and then they would practice job interview. And I also noticed that students who used mixed reality, they asked more questions about their aspirations in the future. So a student who wanted nursing, they were like, "Oh, so what should we do in order to like excel in nursing? What are other programs? How can we improve like areas in nursing and so on?" And then they actually kept writing notes. Whereas the students, of course, who were doing ChatGPT, they also exhibited certain behaviors, like they were not interacting with gesture, which also made me feel like, okay, so how about another study looking at how they behave with AI, especially that I'm not a person who likes self-reports. I use the heart rate, and I also used certain measures in order to really know if students, like how students interact with artificial intelligence and how they perceive it. And through interviews, which actually sparked my attention, was that they described artificial intelligence as an older brother, a friend, a woman, and I felt this anthropomorphic perception of
Sure.
AI, which led me to another study. And what I've seen when they interacted with artificial intelligence is that we can't consider it as a tool anymore. It's not a tool because it's not like a calculator. It doesn't just give you an answer, but it actually like gives you answers, interacts with you. And of course, there are risks behind using artificial intelligence. The other thing, when AI becomes an avatar in mixed reality, it actually adds to like realism and social presence of artificial intelligence. And this can be sometimes risky uh, if not guided well by an instructor. And so, yeah.
I think about that. That's very fascinating on so many different fronts that you're saying that we're not relating as a tool. But let me kind of digress into what you're talking about with this experience with the students themselves. I can't help but think about the uncanny valley. I can't help
Mm,
but think about what does that look like when we start to think about this uncanny valley, when we start to think about human factor development, cognitive fidelity, and we start thinking about contextual fidelity. What was that experience like? Does the computer vision, the multimodal, the concatenative or parametric synthesis, I don't know which one a multimodal you're using, but with the communication of speech and the computer vision, do you feel like it enhances? Does it expand, or does it limit the uncanny valley in terms of human factor ergonomics?
okay, so at first, the students were kind of like they actually felt the uncanny valley, like, oh, that's so weird. How am I going to talk to this woman? Okay. And in the first session, when I onboarded the students, some students were so nice, like they came because they just, I mean, sometimes when the instructor is kind with students, sometimes they can just volunteer. Later on, when they found out, like you can perceive, like the convey is not like other engines where you can feel the uncanny valley. Like sometimes it can repeat itself. But the thing is, when you structure when there is a purpose within the classroom, like the instructor like has a good pedagogical framework, I think that the use of artificial intelligence becomes normal and they understand that this is AI. We shouldn't be afraid of it, because I've actually seen many people who use this application at first. And at first they were actually, oh, no, I wouldn't even use it. But then later on, when they started using it, even instructors who use this application, they actually started leaning forward, treating it as if she's a woman, and they were treating it with respect, although they know exactly that this is an avatar.
Sure.
And they started to behave as if she is a human. But in terms of enhancing or not, that's actually the role of the human instructor. It's not the role of AI. And also it depends. So it depends on many factors. So for example, I don't know which stage you mean, but sometimes we need to prepare the students from Bloom's taxonomy, for example. It has lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. And when it comes to enhancing students' perspective, or I mean, enhancing students like in terms of critical thinking or creative behavior, I've seen many examples, whether from students who are second language learners, or my students also who studied virtual reality or artificial intelligence. When the student understands the concepts very well, the foundational concepts very well, and also they were able to understand or meet the learning outcomes, they can actually do well with AI, generative AI. And sometimes they also may not choose generative AI to do the design. So for example, I have seen competitions with the students who used artificial intelligence and students who didn't. And I mean, students who didn't use AI were not allowed to use AI in my study. They actually memorized. They were memorizing or from lectures. Whereas the students who had prior knowledge about their previous job, they actually used artificial intelligence. They know what they're doing. Okay. So the thing is, AI does not enhance unless me as a human know what I want to do. Okay. And I'm capable of actually using or kind of like, I don't know how to do that, how to say this, but you know, this term or jargon in garbage in, garbage out in computer science. And
Sure.
so I have seen students who understand what they want. Like, for example, using multimodal AI in a VR class, I've seen students who understand the learning spatial technology very well. They understand VR interactions. And when they use artificial intelligence, they use it wisely and they use it for a purpose. Whereas I've seen students who are heavy VR gamers, but when it comes to transferring this from a design thinking perspective and designing a VR game or designing a VR experience, they actually struggled when they used AI. They really struggled. They were like, hey, I want to do a game on what's it called? It was I don't remember the name of the game, but they wanted to create a game, and ChatGPT created something that has nothing to do with VR. It could kind of like fitting a 2D game into VR. So it was really like I had to sit with them during studio hours to teach them like, hey, what's VR interactions? We've explained this before, and until we came up with like we generated a good story for the VR game, and then afterwards we generated like the game mechanics and stuff like that. And so I wouldn't say that how AI would support, but it's actually how a human-centered AI. So there has to be human in the loop everywhere, in every step, that would guide students into that process. Because AI on its own, if you don't know what you're doing, it would generate garbage.
That's right. You know, I think about this. I think about embodiment. I think about anatomical structures and anthropomorphism and how students or even said as the faculty leaned into the context of the actual experience itself in a multimodal setting. Let me ask you this, Dr. Alkiad, with the few minutes that we have left. We're looking at the exploration or the explosion of virtual worlds made by prompt, and we see this being uh, something that has changed the dynamics of innovation. When you and I come from an industry where we've seen hundreds of people uh, just to make one virtual world, and now that we're able to see such a polynomial constructs to be able to come together and the way that they're being able to come together and they're being displayed and built, I could take an image and then I can create a whole virtual world, if you will. I think about this embodiment that you're expressing onto us, these lessons. We're thinking about these NPCs that are embedded in these environments. What relationship does the anatomical, multimodal construct of new, of fresh, that continues to grow empirically by hyperscale observation, if you will, that continues to grow? What do you foresee the new relationship or this new defining relationship between the modern centric avatar that has some type of semi-intelligence, if you will, and these semi-intelligent built environments or built worlds? What is that amalgamation, if you will? What does that look like from your lens perspective? That's a
So
lot
I
to
understand.
unpack, and that's a lot to unpack. I get it. That's about as bleeding cutting edge of a question that I can ask in relation to the work and your research that you're doing when it comes to avatar development, contemporary avatar development. Do you have a sense on what this might look like?
Can you just repeat the question? Because
Sure. So if we take the virtual worlds that are
yeah,
being
just repeat
generated,
So what's
if we
the
take
relationship between?
yeah, sure. The new relationship between the new avatar, the new virtual world setting or visual intelligence, spatial intelligence, what does that look like when we start to think about from the perspective that I have this semi-intelligent agent that's walking around in this constructed or generated environment? What is the nature of that? What does that look like? I mean, this is all cutting edge. This is all frontier. We have no owner's manual for this. We have no guides. There's no books that are surrounding that. I wouldn't even say that even if we look at Roddenberry, sure, we can look at references of fiction, Roddenberry or Klein's ontological anthropocentric simulation immersive system, the Oasis, if you will. We could see that, but we're starting to see, it seems to me, these stepping stones formatted before us in real time. Do you have anything on that when you start thinking about this avatar work? Because this is, to me, what you're working on is extremely cutting edge when it comes to
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. I mean, what's the purpose of the avatar? So I have
Sure.
two research papers that are systematic literature reviews. One is a critical literature review about AI enhanced language learning environments in immersive environments. And it's a comparison between the cave allegory and constructivism. And so you can create as many AI avatars as you want in in a generated VR world. But what's the purpose of the AI avatar? Does it really help users who come into the world for a specific purpose or not? I also have intelligent tutors in immersive environments where I look at previous research in medicine and others. And what I found out is that what's the purpose? Why do I need an intelligent agent? Okay, is there a need? Why a need in an immersive environment? Does it relate to things that I need to do in the VR world, like VR interactions, or just a 2D interface? So the first thing is a purpose. Like for example, I teach this AI course, and my students were like, so I was teaching the design thinking model, and then so the students by the end of the course they should create embodied AI agents in immersive environments. And one of the students was like, well, I have this problem and it's in advertising and I'm like, yes, but this wouldn't work. Like AI in this area wouldn't work. So I'm not here
True.
to make you fit an AI agent in immersive world just because of the course. We are here actually to struggle, to discuss, to challenge our assumptions, and
Sure.
then find a purpose of this AI avatar in this world, in this
Right.
immersive world. Yeah.
Right.
So I think
Right.
starting with purpose first,
Right.
and I've seen in design sprints, many designers, they have very optimistic views about AI.
Right.
AI is capable of doing many things. But I'm like,
Right.
yeah, but you are actually bypassing the friction. Okay. We
Right.
actually need to struggle. Yeah. So I think we should start by purpose first.
So with that said, I sit here and have extreme appreciation for the way that you answered that, because the way that you answered it is authentic in the sense of you didn't try to fit it to where it doesn't belong. That we start with
Yeah.
purpose. What's the reason? What's the nature of the avatar? Dr. Akaya, it speaks to why we've been able to share stage with you once again. And as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes, our time is over. We have to now launch this roundtable. We look forward to
Yeah.
being able to have more of an extended conversation with you in the near future. There's so much. Everyone that's sitting here with us at Gatherverse.live and various social streams, take a look at the research that Dr. Akayat, I vouch for it. It's some of the most cutting edge when it comes to immersive intelligence in the world. And I certainly appreciate having this opportunity to be able to join you on stage, Dr. Akayat. Thank you so much. Our gather was well.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be interviewed by you and be here in Gatherverse. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you so much. And with that said, we're coming and heading on the heels of our next roundtable discussion, moderated by Lynn Gattal, the Communications Director for Gatherverse. The focus is on the agentic economy. We're seeing multi-headed agentic systems, hive swarms, and general agents that are operating beyond these models. They're non-deterministic. They're doing incredible things. They're designing, coding, making, breaking, and hacking. They're used in the vestiges of warfare, and they're used in the kitchen in our homes. There's so many things that we're starting to see when it comes to agentic systems, and we want to know more. We need to know more, and we're about to get that perspective and what it means at this intersection of humanity. May our gather be well.
Hello and greetings. Welcome to our second panel, AI Evolve Summit 2026, Day 2. And our roundtable panel topic for tonight is Agentic Economy, the New Infrastructure of Digital Commerce. Now, before we get started, I kindly request each of you, my dear panelists, to kindly mute up mic until called upon. And with that said, let's get into the heart of the matter. I want to appreciate Christopher with laying a very good foundation with Dr. Amani and, of course, the other panelists who are here before us. And this is just a continuum of this conversation. We're going to be brief and we're going to be very, very genuine with our experience. There's no need for perfection. Just pour out your heart, okay? And I will start with the introductions. I will begin with Deshan, since he's the only male in this camp. Please tell us who you are briefly and what inspired you to join us today.
Hello, ladies. My name is Dishon J.M. Wachia. I'm the founder of Apishi Technologies, where we deal with technology in the hospitality sector. We use our technologies to enhance guest experiences. So you think HVAC systems, so your basic sound systems, TV screens, writing pads, guest feedback systems, just basic hospitality systems. Thank you.
All right, Dishan, you are in the right place. You're going to tell us about how you are applying agents. Sadia, this is not your first time. Welcome. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to join us today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with Gatherverse again. My name is Sadio Jonas. I am the founder and chief AI officer of AI Vantage Consulting, where I lead organizations through safe, governable, human-centered AI adoption that ensures that they get a return on their investment in AI technologies. I'm also the founder of the Academy for AI Strategy, where I help leaders to gain all the skills that they need to be able to guide their teams through this AI augmented era.
And we're very happy to have you once again. Nagawa, this is not your first time as well. Please tell us who you are for the first timers and what inspired you to join us today.
Hi, I'm Nagawa Lule, and I am a consultant at Azure Zenith, also the co-founder of AI Between Worlds, and I help.
All right, it seems there's a little bit of mic problems there, but we're gonna fix it. Charlene, over to you. Take the mic. Take the mic. You're muted.
Thank you guys so much. My name is Charlene Nichols. I'm the founder and CEO of Omniverse City. I've been building e-commerce, B2B commerce, and B2B2C commerce systems for over 20 years. And we started working with introducing our AI fellows about 3 years ago, developing more like community members than just agents. We found that there was a really big opportunity to help navigation through a lot of these virtual tools and spaces through AI. So I'm really excited to talk about the convergence of those two worlds.
Yes, and we're very delighted to have you. And now with me, we have Russell Bundy, who just joined you. Please tell us who you are, although we know, but tell us for the first timers and what inspired you to join this panel.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Lynn. And those of you who don't know me, my name is Russell. I am the Affairs Director or Global Affairs Director at Gatherverse. I'm also the co-founder of Just Verify, and Just Verify is focused on building the trust infrastructure for AI. So our mission is to basically build the trust infrastructure for AI so that anyone can transparently and adopt and use it and basically engage with it. And our vision basically is to create a future in which everyone can independently verify their AIs. Doesn't matter if it's agentic or normal models or world models or any other models. So happy to be here and happy to be part of the panel. And I'm looking forward to talking about agentics because I've been studying and watching and learning and building and all different stuff around agentics over the last few years. So I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Definitely, Russell. We can't wait to hear your side of verification. Now, panelists, as we wait for the others because they're coming back, I want us to just get started. And AI agents have been doing the rounds for some months right now. And this is not just about AI analyzing, giving information, but we've moved to a level where AI is acting on our behalf. And with it acting on our behalf, there's something that comes along with it. And especially when it comes to business and digital commerce. For me, I see new models of businesses will emerge from AI agents or intelligent agents. And I also see an opportunity where there's so many things that will be amplified about a business that AI will expose to the world. I'm not the best person to really talk about this. I'm here with you. Charlene, let's start with the first question. What defines an agentic economy in practical terms? And anyone can chime in as well.
Well, we are actually building a digital economy in Omniverse City that is modeled after similar standards, like for instance, The Sims or Roblox. They all have their own little in-game economy. So we are actually using in-game economics to create a safer sandbox for people to experiment. In-game currency is a lot in my opinion, a lot safer for people to buy, sell, and trade within these agentic worlds. And because we have natives to Omniversity, which we call digizens, they understand the economy. So the problem with any sort of gamified economics, whether it be like in-game economies or even like, let's talk about something like crypto, we all know what happened during Web3. It was so complex. And even though there were a lot of great tools there that people could have used, there were so many people using them insidiously that the people that never got onboarded properly to use them correctly, there wasn't a balance there, right? So there was like a hyper um, uh, application of the wrong way of using these things and not the right way. So I think there is no right way to define agentic economies in practical terms, because there's different countries, different cultures, different communities, all these different things. So I think the beautiful thing about the agents is they're agnostic. They don't really need to define what's right and what's wrong. They can create an adaptive environment where we can all experiment in real time without the friction that comes with economic clash.
All right, all right. I hear you. I hear you, Shadlin, but I really want to follow up on that because we have different perspectives, different industries. And Sadio, I see you, Banning and Russell. But let me hear your thoughts, Sadio. Do you agree with Shadlin? What is your thought?
Actually, I would actually like to back up slightly from what Charlene is talking about. What she was talking about is a little further down the road from where I want to start. The reason why I'm going to back up is because when I announced to my audience that I was going to be speaking on this panel, I was shocked at the amount of DMs that I received when I said, your next customer might not be human. And people really didn't understand what that meant. And they sent some messages to me asking me, what do you mean by that? And what does that have to do with leadership and all of that stuff? So I had to write a whole article about it. So I realized that we who are practitioners in this space, we already understand what it means to have an agentic economy, but we sometimes forget that people who are not practitioners in this space don't know what that means. So I'm just going to back up a little bit and just give a short history so that we can catch people up as to what that means. Yes. When we moved from being able to like physically go to a market and buy things onto the web, we needed some way to verify that A, we were going to get the product that we wanted to get, B, that it was going to be the quality that we wanted, etc. So we developed an architecture of trust on the internet with reviews, with pictures, with like verified purchases from other people before. We looked to see signals of, okay, how long has this company been in existence, just as a way to reassure us that we're going to have a quality experience with a particular vendor buying something online, and that's e-commerce. Then, so that, and a lot of that focused on, being able to search on Google and be able to find whatever we're looking for. Then more recently, after the rise of generative AI, we were looking at, large language models like ChatGPT, et cetera, to recommend products, recommend companies, et cetera, to us. That's even still very recent, right? And that, comes with a level of trust. I was shocked when I just got a client who came to me because I was recommended by ChatGPT. Yes. And now we're going to another step where AI is not only recommending products to us based on what we ask, but actually is able to take the steps and go and purchase something on our behalf. That's with right. Our instruction. And that's where, what the agentic economy is. It is the idea that something who is not human, acting under the direction of a human or a group of humans, an organization, etc., is going out there making decisions about purchasing and bringing products back to the original person that sent that agent out. So I just wanted to mention that because not everyone understood what that meant.
Sadio, you did a very beautiful job by defining it for audience who are new. Thank you so much. And I really hope your audience are tuned in and they now understand better. And we're going to discover more. Russell, what's your take when it comes to defining an agentic economy properly?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a step above what Sadio has been saying. First of all, economy in general is obviously financial, right? Financial distribution. So when we talk about financial, when we're talking about agent-to-agent transactions, It's more about cryptocurrency, instant transactions, not just, kind of like, giving cash to them, because it's not possible unless they're a robot, then maybe. But it's about instantaneous transactions from one to another. It's about the different forms of cryptocurrency. You've got stable coins. You've got tokens like, for example, Ethereum, etc. So you've got all different ways in which you can kind of pay for transactions instantaneously. So that is an important part of the economy. The second point as well is when we're talking about it's sort of like, how do we do transactions? Like, for example, if a platform is, let's say they're selling a certain type of data, right? And an agent wants to get hold of that data, there are mechanisms in place or being put in place that make sure that basically the agent pays for the data rather than scraping. So, for example, there's a thing called a HTTP X402. So that mechanism in particular basically says, right, the agent has to pay in order to access for the data, so that you can gather the data to then be used. So let's say, for example, you'll find out something about a report, or if you want to find something about, I don't know, certain information, certain research you're doing, then you pay for that data to that platform to then get that data. So then your agent then retrieves that for you on your behalf. So just a couple more things to add to this economy, but I think economy is very widespread, and I think the very simplest way to think about it is financial, it's transactions, and it's that agents are going to be working on your behalf doing those transactions.
All right. Thank you for bringing in the financial side of things. And this drags me to the next question, and I'm bringing it over to you, Dishan. How are autonomous agents changing e-commerce dynamics? Russell did the financial side. You're good in design. You've been in the design space and all that, and customer service and all that. Please tell us your thoughts.
Thank you, Lynn. Well, as Russell has said, we have to get ready for the buyers, and the customers are changing and are not human alone and becoming machines. So, such like your website, if you have a website, it includes only PayPal to purchase a loan. It's supposed to include also crypto. If you don't accept crypto, now you're supposed to start accepting crypto payments as well. And also your inventory and whatever it is you're offering has to be updated in real time, not months, not weeks, seconds if possible, so that whoever's looking at your inventory, whoever wants to purchase the service or product, has you have to consider that it is machines, not people, who are buying these things. So you have to try and keep up with whatever it is you're offering. Thank you.
All right, let me just open this widely. Let me just open this conversation. We've mentioned now businesses, it's not about B2B, but AI to AI. Is that what we are saying? Literally, AI to AI, consumer replaced AI to AI. Is this where we are going? Sadia, I see you, but I just want to hear from Charlene before we even go to the next question. What is the nature of e-commerce dynamics right now?
Well, I just want to continue to lean into my position, which is there's no normal and there's no usual way of doing things. Let's go back to something that we don't really talk a lot about in these types of conversations. The majority of local small businesses, and again, that's my focus. So that's whenever I speak, that's the context I'm coming from. The majority of small local businesses, Main Street USA, never embraced e-commerce. The closest they got to was maybe like eBay or like Uber Eats. They kind of adopted these logistical solutions, but very few of them equip themselves with the resources to get pictures and descriptions. And Sadio, I love what you talked about. I call it know, like, and trust, because that's the foundation of how internet search began when it comes to Google kind of taking over. Every algorithm update until recently, when they just threw all the rules out the book and said, screw it, we got to follow AI and fight for the fight, right? But up until very recently, it's been signals to know, like, and trust you. And how is that going to be possible when most people don't know, like, or trust AI? So I do believe, to answer your question directly, Lynn, we are racing towards a world where my AI would talk to your AI. Unfortunately, the infrastructure and the ecosystems that have to emerge from all of these like tools and toys that people are cobbling together, it's not happening. because we're looking at solutions as like these kind of plug and play band-aids when you really have to do your research. And we don't have an intelligence gap anymore because we have access to as much intelligence as our tokens will allow us to buy. But what
Yes.
we do have is a growing knowledge gap, an experience gap, and AI cannot fix that. AI cannot yet go into your brain and install the knowledge in you. So we have to really continue to challenge ourselves to level up and above all, observe the source of truth. Make sure you know where that information and those decisions are coming from, and
Yes.
make sure it's transparent. And I don't believe that it will always have to be crypto that powers these payments. I do believe you're
All
going
right,
to see.
Sterling, we're gonna hold that thought for a while because I feel the financial sector, especially when you talk about economy, is one deep conversation, and I will go back to it before we conclude with this amazing discussion. But you mentioned something very good about infrastructure. Who's building this infrastructure? And that has been always the concern when it comes to machine learning, when it comes to just generative AI. Who is feeding the data? And it's not agentic AI is not different from that. But this brings me to the next question: who controls decision making in agentic driven transaction? Is it the person who fed the AI agent? Is it the person who is using the AI agent, or is it the AI agent itself working on itself without even the data? We don't know if they're speaking to each other. So I want to really get this scope. But before that, I see Nagawa. Nagawa, please tell us who you are briefly so that we can bring you into this conversation. I think you're in a position to do so. Tell us who you are briefly, kindly. All right, Nagawa is still working on her mic. We're very happy to have her. All right, Sadio, I'm bringing you to this because I see you very excited. I want to share the same excitement as you.
Yeah, sure. Actually, that the answer to that question is multi-pronged. Um, for the person who is sending the agent out, right? It is their responsibility to decide whether or not they want to permission that agent to act on their behalf completely autonomously, or if they want the agent to go out, pull together recommendations, be prepared to make a decision, but then check with the human in that cycle is called the human in the loop, to check with that person first before getting a final authorization. Or sometimes it could be that a system is set in place that checks against for a particular set of criteria so that a human doesn't have to be involved, but a decision-making gate point is created so that as long as all these criteria are checked, then the agent has permission to move forward. Now, on the other side, the business that the agent is sent to, the person on the agent on the other hand side of the transaction, right? Similarly to that, the business or the person who is doing the selling, they have to be able to prepare their businesses for the fact that agents are going to be looking. So they're going to have to make sure that they have trustworthy infrastructure, right? That agents feel comfortable interacting with, or else they would not recommend that to their original user, right? They have to have privacy policies, secure transactions in place, or else that wouldn't happen. And they will be on their side. They would have to make decisions about whether they are going to interact with other agents or not. Their agents are going to have criteria determining which agents are trustworthy to do transactions with, etc. And I would imagine that this is where Russell's solution comes in when it comes to verification, because that's part of the architecture of trust on both ends.
All right. You know, Sadio, before I even just jump to the next speaker, I have a really good follow-up on that. When we talk about infrastructure, I'm still drawing to what Charlene said. Does it mean businesses that don't have the infrastructure to build the right AI agentic systems will either be left behind what will happen to them? What's
Yes,
the scenario here? And someone else can chime in as well, beside you.
yes, that's the thing I'm extremely concerned about, because this is something that leaders really are not thinking about, and they may have worked hard to build up their businesses, etc., and their businesses are going to be completely passed over and be literally invisible to a whole host of consumers that they haven't prepared for. Right. And so if they haven't built that infrastructure, even at the most basic level, in terms of making their website so that their website is readable and intelligible by agents, making sure that their business creates thought leaderships to which the agents can refer to when making a decision about whether their business is credible or not, because that's how agents work. And then also having the infrastructure to interact, having their own agents to be able to interact. That's even more advanced. But even at the basic level, lots of businesses are going to be passed by, just like Charlene indicated with the mom and pop businesses. I'm very concerned about small and medium-sized businesses and mom and pop businesses.
Well, and there's a thought I want to quickly add to that, Lynn.
Please do. And then Russell will come to you.
Yeah, super quick. I stumbled upon what I believe is an answer, not the answer, but an answer. There's massive workforce development solutions going on right now. And these kids that are between the ages of 8 and 18, they know exactly the types of jobs that they want to have. And they're very creative and very inventive. So we're actually we're teaming up with schools right now. We've got contracts with schools to bring these children into simulation environments where they can build their own AI agents that represent the jobs that they want to have, and then go out into the community and meet these businesses and show them. My big thing, you guys know from if you've been watching me on the show since the beginning, is optical. Optical and optometry is Main Street USA supreme. Okay, you couldn't find a better use case. And a lot of these kids are trying to help them understand they want to have like virtual try-ons. They want to have like loyalty rewards programs for going outside and getting exposure to, vitamin D. They want to get, points for wearing their glasses. So these kids are developing these programs, reimagining the types of experiences they want to have, creating jobs that fill in those gaps, and then teaching these local businesses all through a workforce development program. So there's solutions that are out there, but we're not going to get it by telling them that they're going to fall behind and by they're going to get wiped over the coals. We're going to have to educate them, equip them, and then we're just going to have to give them the space to make these decisions. I've been, whether it be, and I'll put a period here, Lynn, but whether it be helping them to understand how important website development is, SEO is, I've been through every spectrum of the journey. That complacent attitude has not changed. But they're at the end of the road now of that complacency. And I think they're finally ready to listen.
All right, Charlene, you brought a very important point, bringing in the new generation. And that's a very brilliant example when you bring in kids, because it's a multi-generational issue. They shouldn't be prepared. As I come to you, Russell, what do you think about what Sadio and Charlene just expressed briefly?
I mean, first of all, I just kind of want to go back to the infrastructure. The infrastructure is the infrastructure around the agent. So that can mean anything from the data center all the way to protocols, all the way to, the systems around the AI agents. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that. And second of all, as well, when we're talking about agent to agents, or when we're talking about interactions of agents, they have their own communication system, which they have within this, from one to another. So when we talk about trust, when we're talking about trustworthy, or when we're talking about anything along those lines, we have to be very careful in how we say that within agents, because unless we have the right mechanisms in place, whether we have the right verification, right, the right validity, the right provenance, the right authentication, authenticity, etc., unless we have all that in place, right, we can't really say something is truly trustworthy, so to speak. Now, can it earn our trust through what I like to call trust proof or proof of trust? Sure, that works. But at the same time, we have to be careful in what we say and how we say it, because it's important that we gather all this evidence together to say, right, something is actually verifiable, or like, let's say an agent is verifiable, and that therefore it's trustworthy, right? Rather than just saying very loosely, trust this or trustworthy that, because at the end of the day, you can't take what vendors say to heart, right? You can't say, like, even these benchmarks that you look at, you can't, half of them are even being lied to as well. But the point is if you very careful, have the right frameworks around it, have the right infrastructure in place, and have the right mechanisms around it, then you can align and make sure that that agent is trustworthy to a certain extent. Because
Yes.
something being fully autonomous, you can't, 100% predict what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
as trustworthy as it can be, at least, anyway.
Yeah, Russell, you really highlighted what many businesses are really concerned about, and that is trust. And I admire what you do, just verify. But let me just shift gears to you, Dishan. What new models have you seen, especially in this part of the world that is Africa and many other parts you're dealing with? What new business models are emerging in an agentic economy?
Thank you, Lynn. Well, because Africa has a problem with trust, I think new business models that are going to arrive are the ones that are going to actually garner the trust that is required for these systems to work. So if we have better policies that are going to guide these systems that are going to be built, better policies and better systems that are going to guide these systems that are being built, is going to help the people who are going to interact with these systems. And for the new businesses that are going to keep coming, I think the trust is the most important thing. One way or another, it all comes down to, do you really believe the agents that you are using for your own purpose is fulfilling what you want it and need it to do on your behalf? If that is a yes, then transaction is seamless. If not, then a lot of question marks, and then the whole system breaks down.
Yes. And I believe that's one of the questions we always ask ourselves. Do I trust an AI agent to really do a transaction for me? Do I trust an AI agent to, for example, an hospital? Do I trust AI agents to really tend to a client or to a sick person and recommend something before they arrive to the hospital? Do I trust AI to do a transaction on crypto? I remember we raised this up, and even just the crypto alone, just the basic hashing business. Can someone buy a product using an agent? And it's a question that we keep exploring, and I feel like the way we handle it, the way a business handles it, it determines the success of the agentic. Now, I want to throw this to each and every one of you, and I will start with you, Charlene, briefly. What industries are most exposed to agentic disruption, and how can the workforce prepare for it? And before that, who's taking if these agents are taking the customer care desk, where are these people going to?
Well, I'll give you a couple of real examples, Lynn, like real true examples. I know of a plumbing business that actually shut down because they implemented $100,000 investment they made into their company and just basically turned everything over to AI. No transition plan, no optimization plan, and it shut their company down because there was no going backwards from there. They could not take back over their system. Sadio used a very important term that I hope everyone writes down on their forehead and sees it in the mirror every morning when they wake up, and that's human in the loop. Humans have to be in the loop. And I love, Russell, how you so clearly articulated the AI infrastructure, but there is human infrastructure that has always been missing that we are now finally seeing. The one thing that AI has done that has helped us all the most when coming to zooming in on your question about industries, it's where these industries are already disrupted. Let's not talk about the fact that back in the beginning of time, most commerce was because of a need. You needed new shoes, you needed food, you needed to get steak for the table or vegetables, whatever that was. But consumerism has made us need all these things that we don't really need, right? And it's created all of these new ecosystems that have always been delicate in the balance. But over the last 10 years, and I'm talking about pre-pandemic, there was so much acquisition and consolidation of legacy systems. Companies were taking over these systems, these VCs that had no idea how the legacy processes and systems work. And that rolled us right into the pandemic where everything collapsed. And then after that, we had this rapid, radical adoption of virtual, digital, metaverse, crypto, everything. So everything's in a state of flux. And this is a moment where every single industry has a really big opportunity to really decide what their own industrial revolution is going to be. There's no leader anymore. And I don't think there ever will be a dominant force. We've always followed a dominant force. It's always been a major company like a Microsoft or a Google shaping these standards. And we all get to finally take accountability for our own standards. And that's what I hope, if anyone's listening, anything that I said, I hope your biggest takeaway, that we have to be accountable to our standards and put ourselves in a position to make sure that those standards are clear to the people and the AI that we're working with.
Charlene, I hear you deeply, and I believe our audience really feel what you say. This is something that should be said and needs to be said every day. And that is why we have such gatherings, because we always insist on having the human loop, the human infrastructure, the humanity first. I'm coming to you, Dishon. It feels like there's a weight that you want to release. Please tell us what you think.
So about the workforce, just advice to everyone: you have to learn and be willing to learn new skills and just reskill yourself. There is no need for you to remain rigid in whatever it is that you're doing, and things are changing. So the best thing the best advice you can give people is just try as much as possible to learn the skill to learn. Just be willing to learn. And
Yes.
for the human in the loop systems, I think the policies, if we have policies that are going to guide the agents when the agents come and flood the internet, it's going to be a bit better and be easier to work around them.
All right, Deshan, learn the skill to learn. The skill to learn. I like that. I carry that with me. Sadio, what is your take on this? What industries are being disrupted, and what do you have for the workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I've been thinking about deeply. Actually, I've been this graduating class of college students are the first AI native college students. They entered university, right, in 2022, and now it's 2026. They're graduating, and the world that they entered in, those careers have completely changed, right? They're graduating into a world that no longer exists, right?
Yes.
And whatever college prepared them for has been completely flipped on its head. So I'm very concerned about this, and I'm working on that problem. That's why I have the a career intensive specifically for graduating seniors. And to that point, talking about who's going to be disrupted, as I said, just sticking with your example of the customer service agent, right? The human customer service agent. What would such a person do? My advice is to take all those transferable skills that you have as a customer service agent, and you make sure that you build a company that is advising advising Main Street, advising small and medium-sized businesses on how they can be ready for non-human customers. As a matter of fact, you should be building your own agents that are actually more advanced than people who do not have customer service experience, because you are coming with a skill set and that you know exactly what is needed, right? So
Yes.
you should be able to take that knowledge and create your own agents and work on the infrastructure, work on the trust, work on all of that, learn all those skills, and turn your previous experience into what that looks like for the next generation, what that looks like for the AI driven economy. And that's the same thing for every other role that's going to be disruptive. Just imagine what that role looks like in the new AI era and prepare yourself and position yourself for it.
Sadio, you were very kind with your words, and it felt right to say it right now, because it's time to be positioning yourself very fast and very fast. Be the first one and the fastest one. And thank you for sharing that. Russell, over to you. What's your take on industries and the workforce?
First of all, I would say the biggest industries that are going to get disrupted is finance, health industry, and the economy as a whole, and just society as a whole, basically in a nutshell. Now, in terms of how do we navigate this? I mean, that's a whole different question, to be honest. But I think that the biggest disruption is, especially to the workforce, is within these industries. But also, I believe that right now, I've been hearing people saying about human in the loop and human infrastructure and stuff. I completely agree with that. However, we're going to get to a point when AGI is here, ASI is here, and we're not going to be able to have the capabilities of being able to control these AI systems. So here's what we all need, every single one of us, I believe, is that we all need our own sovereign AI agents. Every single one of us need our own agent that is our own data, that is on our own sovereign computer with our own data on, that is completely off grid of anything or any cloud. And that is our context window into the world, so to speak, of other agents. Because at the end of the day, we're going to need our own agents that are going to act on our own behalf and act on our behalf strongly. And if we're going to have that, we need someone that's on our side. So we all need our own personal agent, so to speak, a buddy, a companion, whatever you want to call it. I'm not worried about the terms, but that is the world that we are all heading into. That's what we all need to prepare for. I don't care if you're an individual, if you're a leader of a company, if you're CEO, if you're even Donald Trump, right? The point is that every single one of us needs that. And when we're talking about industry disruption, I think every industry is going to be disrupted. I think the point is how do we prepare for it? And that is just one of the ways in which we can prepare for it, whilst also having the right trust infrastructure and verification and everything like that as well. But I don't want to promote that too much. It's more about sovereign AI. It's all about having our own agents and having our own window into the world, so to speak.
Russell, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm going to borrow from some of the disruptions that we've had. That is, I'm going to borrow especially from Web 2, whereby we had all these bigger platforms. We're now here because of things like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, privately owned by mega giant companies. And when I'm listening to you, when you're saying everyone should have their own agents, are we going to look up to an environment or a future whereby the people who don't have access to build an agent, and I believe majority of the world are the ones who are falling into that category, are we still going to land in the same history repeating itself where major corporations will now own agents that really control the majority of the population? Do you see where I'm coming from? Yeah, please. And Charlene,
I'll just jump in 1 second, Charlene.
Go ahead, Russell.
I'll just quickly jump in.
No problem.
I'll hand the mic over to you. I'll literally be 2 seconds.
Yes, briefly because of time.
The point is, right, we have open source. Okay, yes. Anyone can download, anyone can have their own agent, so to speak. So if we have open source models and we have open source like GitHub, for example, we can all build our own, we can all develop our own, we can all vibe code our own, etc. But anyway, Charlene, I'll hand the microphone to you.
Over to you, Charlene.
I'm against absolutes across the board because they create more gaps than bridges. I'm a bridge builder, not a gap builder. And I go back to my original statement. We have a knowledge gap. So if we had a fully agentic society right now, we'd be in big trouble because they would be poorly trained. Okay. AIs are your employees. Let's just get that straight. And yeah, maybe one day they will be like taking over the world, whatever. Okay. We've all seen the movies, but for now they follow us. Okay. So as long as we're in power, let's educate ourselves. Let's stop being lazy. I'm serious. I'm not going to say it in any way that's going to sugarcoat it. You have a responsibility. You're an adult, be an adult. You're an adult the moment you're 15. Okay? You're an adult. Learn about finance, learn about your economy, learn about your local culture, learn about your global culture, because we're becoming a global society. I'll be doing business with Deshaun. We could work together right now, even though we're in completely different countries and have completely different economies. And agents can definitely help to manage and process all of that, but we are still going to be held accountable, whether we like it or not, for the systems and the processes that we make. And this is the moment. I agree with you, Russell, because there's a lot of people rushing towards that agentic society because it's just easier. Everybody wants to take the easy road, but we cannot allow that to happen ahead of the infrastructure that just doesn't exist right now. It can, but we've got to put our focus there.
All right, Charlene, I need to put a pen on that. But you know, we're always having so many gathers. We look forward to hearing more of that. But Dishan, I want to come to you briefly because our time is still running fast. How do agents really negotiate a value differently from humans?
Thank you, Lynn. Well, so aesthetics are going to be thrown out the window. Whatever it is that you have on your website that looks nice, an agent might not consider it because it is there to get the best value and fulfill the purpose that is fulfill the purpose that it has sent it there. So even if, let's say, a certain cooker looks nice and it's as expensive and the functionality isn't making sense, it won't pick it. Then I would like to revert back to that question you asked, if there's going to be a gap if these agents come and the economy changes. My answer is I don't know, because I've worked with people who the ability to learn is not there. I know people who right now, as we're speaking, who cannot use a computer, who do not know how to type. So is that gap going to be there? It's a big question mark for me. It's a big question mark.
That's right. Thank you for bringing that. You know, there are people who don't have the proclivity to learn. Let's just acknowledge that. I know, Shalini, you are very right when you say everyone needs to learn, but I'm also empathetic with people who don't want to learn, and this is a loss for them. This age does not really have mercy on someone who is not willing to learn. So be on the front line to learn, and joining such a conversation like this. I mean, I took a lot of notes. That's learning. You don't have to sit down, take notes, write so many things. Learning is just basically knowledge sharing, like what we're doing right now. And I just want to hear from you, Sadie. What's your take on this?
Well, I am hoping for a moment like we had in the 90s, where I grew up in a place where in the United States, there was, telephones in each home with wires, etc. I grew up in Guyana. For most of my life in Guyana, there was like one telephone per like neighborhood, and everyone like went to one person's house to use the phone. And there were, that was the case in other parts of the world. And then later on, Kenya started to be the one that led in the use of cell phones, and they completely leapfrogged over the need for physical telephone lines, and they were the first one to create digital currency, M-Pesa. Yes. I am seeing that this is a moment like that for people who don't know how to type and who find it difficult to learn in the traditional system that we had. Now, such people can pick up their cell phone, which they have anyway, and speak thoughts into existence. That's the message that I would like to communicate around the world. Like, now we have the God-given ability to be able to bring whatever's on the inside of us into existence, and people need to know that that exists. And I think that we'll see revolutionary solutions once that becomes, widespread knowledge.
I want to acknowledge Lynn, the amazing.
Yeah, Shelly, because of time, I really want to continue with this, but let me just say something to what Sadio said, because I'm Kenyan and she touched my heart on what she said about M-Pesa. M-Pesa really came in as a disruption where we could really send money toward the economy with or without internet, with or without a smartphone, with or without knowing English, but using vernacular language. And that is what we are looking for when it comes to bring up AI agentic systems and anything AI that's going to come up in the future. Now, with a brief word, just one word, I don't know who I want to give it to. Shalid, I might want to give you, but just one word. What would you call your agent? What would it do? If you had an agent right now, what would you call it? What would you do with it? Just one word, and we're done. One word, Shalin.
Evolve.
All right, thank you. AI Evolve, panel 2, day 2. Thank you so much. Our gather was well for this panel. Connect with these leaders and look at what they're doing. It's a goodbye for us.
1:05 p.m.
Russell, you're muted if you're talking.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back. Great to have you all with us. And apologies about that. I had issues with not only trying to upload my presentation, but also technical difficulties as well now, where I'm muting myself. So that's quite good. But anyway, let's kickstart off with this roundtable. We do have some fantastic panelists with us. If I could ask everyone to just, well, actually, it's not even any point muting your mics at the moment because there's only the three of us here. So what I wanted you to do is quickly introduce yourselves. So Lawrence will, and then Coach, and then Stefan. We'll head over to you after. So Lawrence, if you do want to quickly introduce yourself, roughly about a minute, and then we'll kickstart the roundtable discussion.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me all?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, thank you. My name is Lawrence Iwerbo. I am the founder, CEO of Sapphire Global Tech, a tech company that helps small business to leverage AI in today's world. And in addition to that, I'm also an adjunct faculty. I teach at several universities within the US. My background is in data science, AI, and a bit of a quantitative background, statistics.
It was great to have you with us, Lawrence, and thank you for joining us as well today. Coach Bobby, over to you. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself? And Shah, is it Shah? Do you want to just mute your microphone quickly for us, please? Thank you very much. Coach Bobby, no, unmute your microphone. Don't mute your microphone, Bobby. Don't do what I did. Please introduce yourself, Bobby.
Yeah, glad to. Hello, everyone. Coach Bobby Humes. I am the CEO of BH Consultancy. We are an organizational consultancy firm that specializes in helping leaders, teams, and organizations identify their problems and chart solutions towards them. I'm an organizational strategist, so I think about things at the convergence of how do humans react to and respond to changes in an organization. Happy to be here.
Great to have you with us, Coach Bobby, and an OG as well, as far as I've been told behind the scenes. Stefan, please introduce yourself. It's great to have you with us as well. And as always, Stefan, it's always great to have you with us here at Gavus.
I appreciate it. What's up, everybody? Hey, y'all. I'm Stefan Youngblood, Raleigh, North Carolina. I like to put this out there. I'm a dad of 3 kids, and I have my grandfather.
Woo!
I got 5 kids. So I come into this AI space and tech space a little on the upper side in sort of working with what I call ethics elders in the place of AI. I founded Black AI Think Tank, as well as the National Black AI Literacy events. Our big one is coming up June 8th to June 12th, and Christopher is speaking in that. And it's all about making sure everybody has an opportunity when it comes to AI, getting the voice out to the underrepresented and the underserved. And yeah, it's great to be here. I love every time y'all have these things, so it's great.
It's always great to have you with us as well, Stefan. Like every time, it's always interesting with the roundtable discussions that you're on. So thank you very much for joining us. And okay, let me try and get your name right. Shah, is that correct? And also, unmute your microphone.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I am so young to talk about such a great stuff. But let me introduce myself. I am Shah. Basically, I'm from Pakistan. I do consulting on leadership and technology and enterprise, and AI is my motive to work on. I've been working with the youth all over the world, around 10,000 to 50,000 youth that I have worked with them. And with this, it's really great to connect with people, with the like-minded people, and they bring something new on your table and talk about something that everybody is very excited, and that the age of the technology that most of us are sometime afraid of it, but I would say that's a great help. So I'm really happy to connect with everyone and share and network with everyone. Thank you so much.
Sha, we appreciate you being with us, and thank you so much for joining us once again as well. I think it's another. Is it your first time?
No, here it's first time definitely, but normally I do talk to
Okay, well,
organizations.
first time with me then. There we go. All right. One way or another, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And a quick introduction for myself. So, well, who's that phone? All right, let me just quickly mute shut. There we go. And just quick introduction for myself. My name is Russell. I'm the Global Affairs Director at Galverse. And also, I'm the co-founder of Just Verify. And Just Verify, I can't hear your audio. Who says that they can't hear my audio? Oh, here we go. You've joined the stage. Kathy, I'm just going to mute your microphone quickly, and then we'll get to your introduction in just a second. So anyway, back on track. My name is Russell. I'm the Global Affairs Director at Galverse, also co-founder at Just Verify. And Just Verify is focused on building the trust infrastructure for AA. So we're focused on building out all the infrastructure so that we can have independent verification and trust when it comes to, well, you decide your own trust, of course, but it's sort of independent verification and verifying and having verifiable AI around the different agents and systems and etc., and allowing you to have a truthful way in being able to gather all this evidence together and be able to verify it to know, whether you can trust it or not. So from your own decision, that is. So that is me. And then now we're going over to Kathy. Kathy, can you hear me? And also, can you mute your microphone as well so we can hear you too? I'll take that as we can't hear you, or you can't hear me, one way or the other. So let's get into the questions. So question one, what does living AI practically mean? Important question here. Coach Bobby, since you are the real OG around here, apparently, I'm going to let you start and kick this ball off right here. Kick us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Kirthi, are you present? Can you hear okay?
It's okay. Don't worry. We'll sort her out behind the scenes. Don't worry.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So yeah, what does living AI practically mean? I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because I struggle to see that people are practically living. Like I think that when we look at education here in the United States, we have young people in middle school whose reading scores are dropping, whose math and STEM scores aren't improving. And so I think that if we're going to practically, if AI is going to practically live, I think we have to build it upon a baseline of efficacy that is really rooted in people striving for excellence. And I think that since COVID, we've really lost a lot of that striving. I think people are, there's a lot of tribalization happening. I think there's a lot of negative discord just around how people engage with one another. And I think we're starting to see that manifest itself with people's use of AI. And so like, for me, it's really, are we building practical living standards of AI on top of some modicum of, excellence as a society? So I kind of worry that we're not ready or mature enough for practically living with AI.
I think kind of to reiterate your point, just the scale of it, the way, how fast it's being adopted, how fast it's been introduced, just the speed in general. Like every day you look at the news and there's 20 new things happening every day, whether that's OpenAI has, done a deal, or raised him here, or, this AI is improved to the next stage from 3.1 to 3.2. And, there's so much really sort of practically going on, so to speak. What does living with AI practically mean? It's hard to tell, because unless you like how the last roundtable was saying that the whole knowledge gap kind of thing, unless you learn and able to adopt it and to learn pretty quick, I think that's kind of maybe one of the biggest hurdles that we are facing when it comes to adoption. So Stefan, I'm going to bring you into actually 1 second. Sorry, Stefan. Kathy, can you hear us now? Let me just see.
Hi, Russell. Can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Kathy, please introduce yourself, and also Lynn will head over to you just a second.
Sure. I'm so sorry for that audio. I'm not sure it was not working.
No worries.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kirti Amistapuram, and I'm working as a lead software developer at Chubb Insurance Company, and I'm happy to be part of this panel. Let me add the details what I know so far.
Well, thank you for introducing yourself, first of all, Kathy. Second of all, thank you for sorting out the technical difficulties, and it's glad to have you with us. And we'll definitely get you involved with all the questions that we have, and also in the discussions as well. But we do need to head over to Lynn very quickly, just so she can introduce herself. I know who you are, Lynn, but everyone else doesn't. So introduce yourself.
Greetings, everyone. I am the Communications Director for Gatherverse. I'm Lynn Gitao here in Nairobi, Kenya. And I'm really inspired to really learn about what living AI and living humans looks like. Thank you.
Lynn, nice and short and sweet. Love it. Okay, so going back to the discussion. So we're just talking about with Coach Bobby, mentioned about, how since COVID, things have slowly progressed, and then to the point now where it's just rapidly progressed, right? Since it dropped back in, what was it, GPT-3, which most of you would be 23, I think, if my memory serves me right. So, Stefan, let's bring you into the discussion and continue the discussion now. What are your thoughts on what does living AI practically mean from your point of view, and all your amazing family that you have too?
You can hear me okay, right?
For sure, yes.
So let me just say that in the questions, and we get kind of preliminary questions, it says, what does living AI mean? And so what I would answer with that is, that's not a thing unless we say it's a thing. So unless I say, the cap to my chapstick is living, is not a thing. So if we say it's living now, that's something that we basically redefine living. So who knows what that could be? I actually asked somebody who does this, they're way up in this field, and we're just not at a place, I don't think, of determining, well, that's living and that's not, because you can get to a human place of what qualities a certain human may have and if they're really considered living or not. However, living with AI, we're doing that now. I mean, everybody here has probably got email. It's protecting your spam, bank account, and all that stuff. It's all over the place. It's behind all of the stuff we're doing today. So we're living with AI intertwined everywhere right now. There's not really a life here on out, unless you get rid of every screen, that there's living without AI. That's probably a great question. What would living without AI look like? That's all I got to offer, though. But this living AI thing, I think that's all about redefining what living is. That's my.
But let me just, I guess, kind of rephrase the question for you in practical terms. When we're talking about LLMs, agentics, world models, etc. What is it like living with those in particular?
Ooh, so that stuff changes everything. Period, y'all. I mean, if you look at some of the agentic AI right now, and people having learned how to create an agent that's doing 10 people's jobs at one time, period, it is a game changer. When companies do that, when entrepreneurs do that, it is a game changer. And it's sort of this explosion in people's minds when they realize, oh crap, so AI is there. Some people, it's not like beginning AI anymore. Now the world is beginning agentic, and let's teach courses on agentic. So we're in that area, not just AI right now. So agents and stuff change everything to me.
Absolutely, can agree with you more, and also what was discussed in the last roundtable discussion as well about agentics. It's extremely important time that we're going into. Last year it was all about LLMs and adoptions and pilots and everything like that, and this year is full on agentics and full scale, and who can get to the quickest to the top when it comes to reinforcement learning and hyperintelligence and ASI and AGI. So, but anyway. Kathy, let's bring you into the discussion because I want to bring you in, and then Lynn will head over to you after as well. For you, Kathy, what does AI shift from tool to perceive living entity?
Okay. You can hear me, right, Russell and everyone?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Yeah.
So AI starts to feel like a living entity when it stops behaving like a static tool, I would say, and begins showing traits we normally associated with the living systems like awareness, adaptation, memory, and responsiveness. The shift happens when AI can sense, adopts, when AI can sense its environments, learns, and respond according to that. So I can say when it's at the point when people stop seeing it as a software, start experiencing it as a something that senses to its environment and responds to that. For example, I would say in terms of insurance terms, for instance, okay, when an insurance AI, when it detects a leak, it shuts down the valve and alerting the homeowner, and then starts claim process automatically without we even initiating it. That's when we see it as a living entity rather than software tool. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you brought up a very interesting point between software and a living entity. At what point does it become a living entity? As in, how Stefan was saying earlier, and quantifying and defining it. But could it still technically be living if it has the right intelligence, right? As in, if AI actually has genuinely its own mind, right? And it can actually think for itself, because if we have an autonomous systems, technically it can think for itself in a way, and then when we go into swarms and etc. But the point is that is something truly living if it does have intelligence, Kathy, or is it just, from your point of view, something that's just more advanced and it's like, okay, this is living, or is it just still under the hood software for you? I'm curious.
I mean, I would say, when we feel it as a, what do you say, the response in a dynamic way, rather than it provides the output based on the repetitive data. It senses the environment according to the context and providing the response. So that's when we feel it as a living entity, from my perspective.
Stefan says not biologically living, but a type of digital living. I like
Right.
that definition,
Right.
Stefan.
Exactly. Yes, agree with that.
And thank you very much for sharing, Kathy, as well. Lynn, we'll head over to you as well. Stefan's just put that there, of course. Kathy is also talking about if it's intelligence or if it's living or not, etc. So, Lynn, from your point of view, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, from what Kathy has said and Stefan has just brought in, we now have a category of living, two types of categories of living, that is biological, and of course also including the plants as well, and digital living, that is us human beings living in the digital world, and of course AI itself living in the digital world itself. So I see humanity being caught in the loop of biological living and digital living. And how do I define AI being as a living entity? Number one, it cannot breathe. It doesn't have a nose. It cannot talk. It does have a voice. It does have a voice. Sorry, it can't talk.
It has one thing.
Yes, but it can't breathe. It can't really. It doesn't have a skin to really. It can. Kathy said it can adapt to the environment, but it doesn't really have a skin that has sensories enough to tell what that environment is or what's the feel of just being in a certain environment, in a certain temperature, but it can adapt to an environment. So having that categories of digital living and biological living and human beings in between the two, for me, this is a new world we're creating. I was not ready for this world, but I'm looking forward to hear how we're going to navigate this. I'm handing it over to another speaker.
Well, thank you very much, Lynn, for sharing your thoughts. And I will add, I think, when we're talking about robots, right? And also when we're talking about multi-sensory models, right? There is a lot coming out right now from multi-sensory models and robots that are getting to the point where they're having the same sort of limbs, right? But also if we're talking multi-sensory, like they can feel the touch and start hearing, etc. They are getting to the point where maybe, let's say, roughly 3 to 4 years time, when you first look at a robot, you might not know the difference between if they are actually human or not. So when we're talking about, are they truly living? You could argue that it isn't. You could argue that it is. But if we're talking about if it has a synthetic heart and synthetic like body systems, etc., like a synthetic brain, maybe it is truly living. It's hard to really define exactly if they are living or not. But I'm just kind of putting out, or at least informing you, Len, that there are multi-sensory models, there are robots out there which are getting to the point where it's getting so advanced that they can touch, they can feel, they can see, so to speak, and speak. So anyway, right, let's move on to the next question, and we'll head over to you next, Shah, and then Lawrence as well. And the question for you guys is, what does AI shift from tool... Oh wait, we've already just done that one, sorry. My next question is, what psychological effects come from human to AI interaction? I love this question. Shah, let's bring you on to this. Kick us off with this question.
Yeah, I think the psychological effects are, for the human interaction are in both opportunities and risks as well. If I am able to talk about its, positive sides, it is reducing the loneliness. It has some personalized learning styles as well. It can sometimes help in our mental health, as well as it can help us some other things, just like if I would stick to the point about the personalized learning in terms of psychological effects, for me, that I feel that before I used to take a lot of effort to make one of the things for myself, but this personalized learning is bringing some positive effects for me. It has a lot of risks as well, some emotional dependency, and you can say that manipulation through hyper personalization, that is also one of the risks that I feel that can bring some real challenge. I feel the real challenge is not whether AI has emotions. I think the challenge is whether humans emotions surrender too much authority according to the AI systems or not. So that really makes me think about it. So for me, as a learner, as an explorer, I feel that the most important thing for me when it comes to human and AI interaction, it introduces so much opportunities for the world leaders as well. As I gave the example of the personalized learning, in the past, people used to make a lot of efforts for, personalized learning. I need to just go and hire someone. But right now, psychologically, I feel more smart. I feel more, comfortable in terms of that AI is really helping me every day. Since the risks, everything has got its risks as well, but it depends on the mindset. I believe that, Coach Bobby can also relate with this. Whenever we go to the people are very in their stuck mindset. They are not ready to, talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. But you just keep talking about it, and you start giving them some stories, some words, some intellectual things. So that's how it can bring so many things as well. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's positives and there's also negatives. I like the old saying of, pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
What are the pros? What are the cons? There's cons to everything, there's pros to everything, and weighing that up. But I will say this, that there has been official evidence shown about how it changes the mind of the person, right? The human, in terms of, like, for example, using ChatGPT, Gemini and stuff. They've done studies on that. And of course, it can change your mind and brain waves, the same as what TikTok can. That's why we call it TikTok brain, right? So, to the point is, but is it maybe benefiting us in terms of, okay, there might be downsides to it, but could there be a long-term upside to that? We don't know. It's kind of like when people found out about smoking, and then all of a sudden smoking was cool and good, and then all of a sudden, oh, this is really bad for you. Oh, it can cause your lungs bad. So, it's kind of like, we don't know. We don't have enough data and resources and sources yet. But I think over time, we'll definitely be able to discover that.
Russell, I want to share a personal story here for everyone. Back in 2
Sure,
years,
and then we need to jump over to Lawrence.
yeah, it's very quick and it's very impactful. That really gave me another perspective to look at the world. I went to a village where people were even unaware about what does mean the email as well. So at one side of the world, that people are like you and me are talking about, what advancements can be, part of our lifestyle. So I went to a village. I was a trainer there. I have to go. I just met a girl that I asked everyone in the classroom, do you guys send emails to each other? So everyone was like, what is the email? So I was literally shocked. How is that possible? Why it's not coming? So many, debates can be here. So many things can be here. Why the one side of the world? I feel that what sort of psychological effects these children could have it, even they don't know it. So in terms of sharing the knowledge, there are stages of the knowledge. In one of the things that would be, I don't know it, you don't know it, right? I know it, but you don't know it. We all know it, but someone may not know it. So there are stages. So when it comes to such things, I get astonished how these things are really possible. Yeah.
Well, Shah, I completely understand what you're saying. I remember when the internet first came around, so that was fun as well. So Shah, thank you very much for sharing. Really appreciate your input for this roundtable discussion. Lawrence, we're going to be heading over to you now. And from your point of view, Lawrence, there's so much that you mostly want to share. So when it comes to human and AI interaction, maybe from your own personal side, or maybe just even other people that you have worked with, whether clients, etc. What psychological, let me get my words right, what psychological effects have came from either your own point of view or even what you've just heard from other clients, maybe? You want to unmute your mic, Lawrence?
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Awesome.
Thanks for that question. So the way I like to look at it is just from the point of view that AI can help people feel supported, right? It can help, especially elderly people. It can help with loneliness. It can help with bridging the gap with learning. It can help with planning, emotional reflection and things like that. And just think about it this way. As humans, we have relationships. And in those relationships, sometimes we find it difficult because in those relationships, we have, it does require patience. It has a disagreement. It has a growth process involved. You get offended by people, right? But when we talk about AI, we're looking at something totally different, because AI most times often agrees with whatever you do. So as a result, we now tend to treat AI more like the safe space where we don't get judged, we don't get, rebuked, we don't get disagreement, and we just fall into that comfort zone. And the danger of that is the fact that, people then overly become dependent on such a system. But there's a growth process that comes from interacting with humans where you have, differences, you argue, we may not agree, and you learn through the process of, being offended and the growth process that comes from that. And that is one of the areas where I look at the psychological effect between, the interaction between AI and humans, right? So we tend to lose that component of that growth process that comes with interacting with human versus when we interact with AI. Because AI, like I said, most of the time is always going to agree with you, is always going to be there to comfort you. It may never challenge you in a sense, right? And as a result, as human, we tend to, kind of fall back into that default position because we feel like this is a safe space. We don't get judged, we don't get challenged, we don't get, disagreements, right? So
Right.
that's the psychological effect that I see in the sense the interaction between humans and AI.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for sharing, Lawrence. Second of all, I will add to what you're saying. That's why ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., they had these personality traits where you can change the personality of them, right? So that they can act more towards what you want them. Do you want them to be candid and direct? Do you want them to be, loving, affectionate, and supportive? So you can kind of change the personalities of these AIs, but the underlying factor is, even though you can change the personalities of them, underneath all that is, are they actually truly aligned with you? Like when we talk about values, principles, etc., like are the values of this AI that you're using and their principles and how they behave and perform, etc., are they aligned with what you are as an individual and what you're doing, or even just in human values in general? So I think that's something that we've got to think about. And there has also been evidence where people have hacked into these AI models, and underlying it has multiple multi-personality disorders, so to speak, as in it has multiple different personalities underneath it once you do sort of prompt inject into it. But the point, what I'm saying is that when we're talking about humans AI interaction, we got to think about our own autonomy, right? We've got to think about our own sovereign AI, what it is personally for ourselves, right? So I completely agree with what you're saying, Lawrence, is that do you want an AI that A is on your side but completely agrees with you all the time, like how you're saying, right? This is more like GPT-3, GPT-4 we're talking about here. Or, do you want something that's going to be more candid towards you, more direct, more professional, adjusting the personality of GPT-5, etc. So I completely agree with what you're saying. It's just that we need to think underneath all these models, the data behind it is this truly aligned with our own principles and morals? So thank you very much, Lawrence, for sharing that. And I just wanted to add that onto what you're saying, because I really loved what you're saying. That's why I was like, oh, I've got to add to this, Lawrence.
But, I was going to bring up the issue with the data, like you said, but I think the moral lesson here is this, this could, result to isolation, right? And that could be something that could be, have a negative impact on people, especially, older people who are not overly integrated in the society because of the, the life stage you're in. And especially for some younger folks who are also equally very anxious, right? So over reliance on that could lead to isolations and depression and other things. And we'll talk about different you can change different models with these AI tools. As a human, I can be interacting with you, and I can also change my countenance and how I talk to you based on your facial expression alone. I can read the moment and I can adjust to that. And AI cannot do that, right? And so these are some of the differences between interacting with AI or integration with AI and humans.
That is debatable with the when we're talking about multimodalities and visual and how it can take your facial expressions. But I do agree, in general, I do agree with you, Lawrence. So thank you for sharing. We've got to move on to the next question. Coach Bobby, we're going to head over to you. And also, we'll head over to you as well, Stefan. The next question is, how do we define agency in AI without...
Anthropomorphizing, yeah.
Thank you so much, Bobby. You just saved me.
Yeah, so I think where the conversation is right now is this really powerful assumption that people know what their values are.
True.
The people that I work with in my business, we do deep work to people to uncover what their values are. This is not something that most people can just rattle off to you. Here are my top 3 values. And so I think the assumption is that the general user of AI is using it beyond what I call the digital hammer. AI is a tool, like it's intended to be used as a tool. But we're having a conversation here, even right now, where we're holding space for people using AI as an emotional service entity, right? Helping them define who they are, helping them navigate significant life choices. And so how do we define agency in AI without anthropomorphizing it? I think we have to go upstream and away from AI. I think we have to be thoughtful and conscious of the like the state of the world as it were. I think that the excitement of AI and like its use cases is definitely there. We use it in our business as well, but it's the digital hammer. We're using it as a tool. We're not using it to inform reality for us. And so I think that if we're going to define agency without making AI another human, we have to be aware of who we are, what we desire out of using that tool. Like I have a 7-year-old. I don't just give him a hammer and let him walk around with it. Right.
Right.
Because I know how to use that tool. I also know how destructive that can be. We have a lot of windows in our home. Right. And so I think we have to be thoughtful about, people first having their own agency and understanding what their use cases for the tool is. I really think that not everyone should have access to AI. I know that that's not a popular sentiment, but I don't think everyone should just have access to AI. I think there should be age limits. I think there should be specific use cases.
Yeah. I think you like define it as in like A, under a certain age, or B, if you have some sort of like disorder, so to speak, like maybe a multi-personality disorder or ADHD, or I don't know, like any sort of diagnosis, so to speak, from a doctor where you shouldn't be using it, so to speak, as in that from a medical point of view.
I would start at age limits, and then inside organizations, I would have like, certain technology requirement limits on it. I just think that we are entering a space where people are relying on AI to be their personality, their chef, like they're all in all.
So basically heavy reliance on AI in a nutshell.
That's how we avoid, anthropomorphizing AI. But I don't know if we're capable of doing that. I don't. Again, I go back to how I answered the first question. I don't think we're mature enough to handle this digital hammer.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? Thank you very much, Bobby. Stefan, heading over to you now. How do we define agency in AI without whatever that word says? It.
I hate that word.
Yeah, maybe from your point of view, Stefan, when we're talking about living, because I mean, there's a lot that I've seen you in the comments. There's a lot you have to say, Stefan.
Yeah.
When we're talking about something living or not living, and then we're talking about how do we define agency in AI without anthropomorphizing it, like those two worlds are coming together, so to speak, right? So, how, from your lens, just give us a point of view of what you think overall.
Yeah, I think the battle here, the tension is really over words, and it's over meaning. Every one of these discussions, somebody's going to say, well, what do you mean when you say? And what do you mean when you say this? I started a few years ago writing a book called Word Drift, and it basically shows how the meaning of these words that are associated with AI have changed and are changing. And the last sort of change that I looked at was how AI is going to assist us in defining our words. So it's a dictionary that includes words out of Oxford Dictionary of 1950. Let's move up to 1990, in 2025 and 26, and then the definition in 2050. So watch this really quick. In this little lexicon, agency in 1950 meant the office or function of an agent, the state of being in action or of exerting power, a means of instrument through which a specific effect is produced. Move that on to 1990, and it's the capacity of an individual to act independently and make free choices, a central concept in sociology and philosophy, contrasting with structural determinism. Also, an organization or business acting on behalf. Let's just push this all the way up to 2050, and I'm telling you, everything we say now, AI is sort of a part of. And when people are redefining, new dictionaries are happening, AI is a part of this. This could be a definition that it comes up with. The measurable capability of a human or artificial system to initiate goal-directed action under constraints. Agency is graded, substrate independent, and it's mapped to a corresponding framework of obligations. Legal and technical frameworks trace agency chains to allocate accountability precisely, preventing responsibility gaps. The thing is, we have these, I don't know who makes this orb ball that's going to, there's a few of them out, that's going to tell us who's human or not. And just get this, we created this thing to be so smart, it's going to turn around and instead of us saying what's AI, it's going to look in our eyeball and say, well, okay, they passed, they're human. And this one is human. So because so much is fake, we're going to rely on AI to tell us whether we're real. And that gets back to our identity. Y'all, for everything, my bottom line is hold on to your identity. For your children, your grandparents, you know your identity, who you are, period. Because a bunch of stuff is trying to shift you off of that place, that real foundation of who you are.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And it's very interesting how you brought up the dictionary there, because it does make me think about everyone saying shape now when no one was saying that just 2 or 3 years ago, or everyone saying ensure when no one was saying that either. There's certain words which we all seem to be saying now, which we never said previously and never heard of in our lifetime. So, Stefan, I completely agree with you. There's more words to be added to the dictionary yet. So, Lynn, let's head over to you now, and we're going to go to the next question. And then, Kathy, we'll head over to you next. We've got about 10 minutes left. So, we'll be very quick. What risks arise when people begin to rely on AI for companionship and identity validation? This is following on from what Stefan was just saying.
Yes, I think just borrowing from what Stefan said, hold on to your identity. But I want to just stretch it a little bit further to the generation that is being defined in the digital living. They have lived digitally since they were born, especially the generation that came since COVID-19. I believe that's the kind of generation that has been brought up online. So their lifestyle is defined digitally. They don't have a very strong rooted background. The identity definitely is defined in the digital world. So what comes with the risk when your identity is really defined with the digital world, like what I wear, like what trends am I watching on TikTok, like what song is trending, or like what is the new trending thing in education. Like nowadays we don't do homework, we only copy from AI. You just ask AI. Like I have a ton of I have a younger sister, and all her classmates, it's now dawned to me that all their answers are always the same. And the teacher's really concerned, because when you give them an assignment and the children or the students come, all of them with just a little bit of tweaking, and they chat with each other and they tell each other, just make you as not shape, make it another word to make it look like it's not the same thing, but all the answers during the assignment are the same. So for such a child, when they grow up, they will know learning is done by AI, and answers have to be the same. You just tweak a little bit, and that is something that will shape how they will live when they become adults. For someone who his or her or algorithms, maybe a young child, all the AI is just showing them is the newest sneakers, is the newest makeup, it's just the newest thing. By the time that child grows up, their identity is always about things. So there's that generation that is really it's an alarm for me, for a generation that their identity is really defined on the online world. And then there was a summit, I think it was AIXR, where one of our speakers said that people are now preferring to have a companion with an AI. And we have seen this trending where people have weddings with an AI or just their AI, and they're making vows to each other. That's, for me, is dangerous when a generation just doesn't want to relate to humans and relates to AI. Because at the end of the day, this AI has been fed by someone indirectly. It's not AI itself, but someone fed it. Someone told it what to do. So
Okay,
this,
Lynn, I'm gonna have to
yes.
jump in.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, run out of
Yeah,
time.
I understand time.
You have so much. You have so
I
much to
have so much.
say. I'm like,
Next
what's
gather.
going?
You
Lynn,
might get
come
expression
on.
on the next gather. Please
Why are
give
you
it
trying
someone,
to?
give it to someone else, please. Sorry, I forgot. Please give it to someone else.
Well, thank you very much, Lynn. And look, I'm just going to turn the smoke up on this quickly, and then we'll jump around to everyone else. First of all, identity validation. We need verification for that. We need to be able to verify who's whom and who's not. We also need identity validation in terms of an actual genuine passport, being able to identify that, etc. Second of all, companionship, right? When we're talking about companionship, first of all, I think it's very underutilized, so to speak, as in, like, I'll use the example of Grok, right? We all seen the things that come out from Grok. I don't know if you've seen in the news, but basically, in very simple terms, you can turn the heat up with it in very nice terms. But the point what I'm getting at is people have been using Grok, for example, in the past to have companionships with that as well. So I'm just going to finish with that. Kathy, we're going to head over to you, Shah, and then Lawrence, and then we need to round this up because we've got over 4 minutes left. So, Kathy, quickly, literally 30 seconds, maybe to a minute max. From your point of view, either speak on companionship or identity validation, one or the other. What risks arise when people begin to rely on either A, having a companionship, or B, not being able to have their own identity, so to speak?
Okay. So when people rely on AI for companionship or identity validation, the biggest risks are emotional over dependency. As Len mentioned, like that was a perfect example with the COVID period. And it's like, I mean, like it'll reduce like human relation connections. Like, so AI, always it feels like it's supportive and responsive, so that way like people will feel like even there will be a weakened real world connection, real world relationships. So it affects in such a way like we are more dependent on AI even for I mean like for everything, for decision making it could be, and even with like whenever we have some questions and all, always it will be like the response will be in a positive way only, rather than like if it is a human, that response would be in a different way. So I feel like
100%.
it is creating more dependency. It is over dependent.
Lawrence, unmute your mic, and can you tell us what are your thoughts from what Kathy was saying, or what are your thoughts on either companionship or identity from your point of view?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me? Okay. I think she's right, and one way that I like to look at it is that, or let me say it this way, one risk that people will likely going to start seeing is that people will start going to AI to tell AI everything, right? That will become a situation where people begin to lose a sense of value of who they are. They start second guessing themselves because now they rely on the system, right? And then people start asking, then what should I be doing with my life? So that's a lot of information to give to a machine or to an AI too, right? We have to start having conversation around these things and begin to talk about the dangers that come with all of this over reliance on this too. Having boundaries and ethics put around this place. We are all stakeholders. We should be having a broader conversation from the home, the institution, the church, the community, the mosque, everywhere should be having conversation about how can we use this tool in an ethical manner. A child who is only about 6 years old is being handed an iPhone that has an AI tool in that doesn't know, the dangers it could result in, right? So we need to start, having broader conversation. I've had to do that myself. When my son entered high school, I told him, we had a frank conversation. You're getting to high school now. I don't want to use an AI too. And I told him why, because I'm an educator, right? I told him this. Look, you do this.
Lawrence, I'm gonna have to jump in. Sorry, Shah, quickly, 30 seconds or less from your side of things. What risks arise from AI companionship? Let's just finish with that.
Okay, let me talk about one thing: identity validation. We all really want to feel valued. We want someone to say you matter, you are enough, and what you think about, that's right. And AI does this perfectly every time without getting fail even. So you share an idea, AI appreciates it, and you express a feeling, AI validates it, and you ask for the right decision, and AI supports it. Because this real identity is not built in comfort; it is built through friction. I would say, through someone is saying, "I disagree with you," through failure, through being misunderstood, still
I'm
find your own way. So AI cannot tell you who you are. Only life can do that.
Sha, thank you so much. I was about to say you're gonna have to finish it. That is it from our roundtable discussion. Thank you so much. Make sure you follow each and every one on LinkedIn. Make sure you connect with them. And up next, we have the almighty Christopher, who's coming up next for you. That is it from us. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I want to connect with everybody here.
Bye, everyone.
I would love that. Thank you. Let's do it.
All right then.
Gavas team. Gava
Peace
as well.
I want to quickly call Len Gatow and Russell Bundy on stage with us now. And Len and Russell, we really appreciate your leadership today in this Gatherverse AI Evolve 2026 Day 2. I'd like for you to briefly share with all of us at Gatherverse.live and all the folks that are in studio, what are your brief takeaways? What are your brief salient, very briefly, salient points that you've gained and garnered from interactivities today? Lynn, we'll start with you, and then Russell, on to you as well, please.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. I would first say thank you to every speaker and the speakers who are coming tomorrow for their very kind expressions and insights and what really is concerning in today's world. My brief takeaway from all this day 1 and day 2, humanity comes first. As we always say here at Gatherverse, humanity comes first. Over to you, Russell.
Thank you, Lynn.
I would say honestly, agency, autonomy, also sovereignty. Just I think when we're talking about agentics and we talk about AI agents, we all see this world that we're all going into is crazy, and I think really one of the biggest learning points I would say is how agents can be properly utilized by an individual as an atomic person on their own, having their own agents on their own behalf, kind of thing. So I think that's really important as we head into the agentic age.
Let's move away from the technical thesis for the moment, Russell.
Okay.
I want to get to the why. Right? When we talk about this agentic era that we find ourselves in, the age of compute, so forth and so on, empirical awareness. Why do these things matter, in what context, when we start thinking about, because you made a bold statement earlier about everyone needs an agent, but I didn't hear more of the why. I'd like for you to briefly share the why. And I think it'll make more sense in greater context.
The reason why is because if we have centralized systems and centralized agencies, putting our own thoughts in our own head, we can't keep a hold of ourselves, of our own identity, of our own data, of our own personalization, and us as a human being and as an individual. So I think if we're having, let's say, an agent from Google, for example, it's going to be whatever they want to give you. So if you start using their Google system or Google agent, so to speak, it's going to be whatever Google's data is, right? So we need to look after our own data. We need to look after our own selves as well. But we also need to make sure that we have our own agency and autonomy so that we can keep ourselves as an individual.
Oh, you're speaking to sovereign. So you're speaking to sovereign ownership.
As an AI system as working on your behalf, yes.
Sure. The preservation of sovereign autonomy, I think, puts that into greater context when we start looking at the reason that everyone should be equipped to some degree with a defensible posture or position of an agent that can allow them to be able to put in a defensive posture when it comes to using AI. Thank you for sharing that, Russell. It was very noted. Salvi, we'll come to you in just a moment. We want you to garner your thoughts on your takeaways from your roundtable's experience thus far with this. I'm going to be brief with each of you, and then we'll conclude this day 2. But Lynn, you talk about the need for the preservation of humanity, and that being something that's focalized and etched in your mind when it comes to the expressions that have been rendered thus far in this roundtable discussion. I think about something that Coach Bobby has shared in the notes here on stage with us, that we must not outsource humanity. Why must we not outsource humanity? And who would have thought of such a thing not merely a few years ago? It does lend to what Russell has expressed, that the verbiage and the vernacular of what we're using, and what someone has expressed, our information diet. We're seeing people use words they never used before in the societal, in a colloquial sense, beyond geometric lines, if you will. And so I sit here and think about how we speak and express. I sit here and think about the pollution of my own LinkedIn platform, that the majority is written by machines. And I don't see the perfect imperfection of human expression like I once did, like I once enjoyed. Did I even appreciate the imperfection of the imperfection or the perfection of human imperfection like I once did and when we had it? But Lynn, what are your brief thoughts on that with an unmuted mic, please?
Yeah, Christopher, when it comes to verbiage, I think that most humans right now online, we're all sounding the same. Even if someone doesn't use AI, somehow your mind interprets it like this someone wrote with AI, because everything is so similar. And maybe you just innocently used the word shape, and it was just in your mind. It's the only English you know. But all of a sudden you put it there and you think it's AI. So I think that if we get to a place of no return where we've adopted this AI, we've had our sovereign agents, each and every country has their own agentic, or not agentic, their own sovereign AI. Will we ever get back to being just humans? Will we ever get back to just me talking with you? Just a human conversation, child to child conversation. Will we ever go back to being human again, or we just have to adopt this new way of living? So I'm still also it's a question for me. I look forward to explore from my other colleagues.
I think in the general essence of what your question is and framing, I think it's rather profound in context and relatability to what you had expressed about there are entire generations that all they've ever known, Russell and Salvi, is digital. They've never known a world like the world I would say that I know, being the more mature on this stage as a Zennial, coming from one space to the other in the sense of coming with almost pure traditional. I was around before Nintendo. All right. All of you were born post Nintendo. I was before Nintendo, if I could put it like that. I know I'm aging myself right now, but you have never known a world to this degree where we had to do handwritten letters. And when we wanted to go do something in life, our parents told us to go play outside with dirt. And so, toys were scarce and video games were not a thing. And Atari was not in every household. It was a different time, but a sense of community when you can walk down and drive down neighborhoods and there weren't just blue lights emanating from the window scenes, but there were people and your neighbors that were communicating and sharing, if you will. This is a different time that we find ourselves in. And not that I'm saying that there's something per se wrong with it, as people still do reserve the right to be able to do it. But it seems to me that they're taking a hold of an advantage of that innovation, which they deem more credible, more identifiable. And the element that gives me concern, Salvation, which has been brought up, and please give us your more expanded thoughts overall, is thinking about relationships when it comes to mechanistic machines and intimacy. That was alluded earlier by Lynn. I think about that, and if people prefer to spend their time on their devices more so than outside, perhaps they'll just prefer to be able to spend more time in digital relationship of intimacy, an actual tangible, heartfelt, warm blood intimacy. I find that rather interesting in the greater scheme of things. But Salvation, could you lend to us your different lens perspective of what you've received thus far since attending both here day one and day two of Gatherverse? And then I believe that it'll be a good note for us to conclude on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christopher. And I wanted to say that I was also born in the early 2000s, and I know what it feels like to be without the internet. I know what it feels like to go outside and play with the sand and to make wooden toys and be creative about the things that we play about, the conversation we had then as kids. And I know what it feels like to be without the cartoon era. So I would say that from day one and day two has made me understand that we're still getting there, right? And we're getting there because I think some people have begun to realize the effects on the negative side and want to do better. And I remember one of the speakers also confirming that policies are now being put in place. People started to talk about governance and ethics around this agent that should be normalized. So I think we're getting to a point, an era that it won't be scattered abroad anymore, like the way we say it now, where everybody's doing what they choose and what they want for this technology. We'll get to a point where there will be control, there will be policies to protect how we use this technology and how it affects our lives generally. And for the future, I know there are so many questions unanswered currently, but I do hope that on the side of relationship, that humans can also look aside technology as just a tool and embrace how we see each other as people, how we say good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And we may want to do this. Personally, I've started normalizing calling my parents on phone and my siblings on phone rather than texting them on WhatsApp and just saying good night on WhatsApp. If I can and I have the time, I'm calling my mom, calling my siblings and saying, good night. I just want to hear your voice. I just want to know that you're speaking back at me and you're saying good night back at me. I'm beginning to cherish those voices because these are the things that stick to our memory. These are the things we remember. These events that we have physical connections. And I hope we can also come back to the time where we cherish trust and how this also influences good relationship inside business and outside business and every other aspect of our life. That's how much I have to say on this matter.
And that was precious to share. The preservation of relatability, community, relationships. I know how I feel when I hear each of your voices, whether on an individual basis due to the relationships that we have, or even yet as I sit here under the sound of each of your voices and your leadership. I'm very proud to have the opportunity to be able to afford to serve along with each of you here in Gatherverse. Audience, we often encourage you, inspire you to follow those that come to speak at Gatherverse, but here are some of our leadership right here, and I would encourage you to follow their journey, to network and join with them. And maybe if it's possible, beyond the text and the prompt of a small white box, confined to the boundaries of the digital constructs in which they find themselves native to behold, that will pick up a phone, pick up device, and simply say hello, good evening, good morning, or good night. We'll see you for Gatherverse Day 3 at AI Evolve 2026. Our Gatherverse.
All the crimes ask when they're gonna see them. Then they're gonna ask to feel the ghosts, the walls, the dreams. Well, I've got mine. At last, those coming came, and they never looked back. With blinding stars in their eyes, but all they saw was black. Fooled them, hoping to seem like a slayer of evil, but the product of greed. And it's not a mask, so be honest with me. We can't afford to ignore that I'm the disease. Practical since we had to